Close.
Bradford Bill.
I'm waiting for Denny to do that. But he's
But they denied they're building the new building.
Call the meeting to order, please.
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sorry,
My chair is.
throw my chair.
That was so close.
Roll call, please.
Boss. Present. Hippia. Present. Graham. Present. Hughes.
Present.
Fry.
Present.
Schroller.
Present.
Crom.
Present.
Barnes.
Present.
We have a quorum.
All right, thank you all for being here. The first item is the approval of minutes from the March 26th meeting. Darlene let me know she had an amendment this afternoon, so you want to read your amendment?
Yes, page 5 of the minutes. It would be item number 3, under round table, just to clarify what I said. If we could change it, Debbie, to CM Boss reported that Rotarian Jeff Chris, on behalf of Marine Chris, asked the Rotary Club for a donation to a convention and tourism bicycle rack project.
Is this working? No. Not at all? Did I blow it?
Boy, you really blew it.
I did wing that a little bit, and then I winged the chair.
Throw it helps me. Keep me from coughing.
Okay, are we good? No? Better. Better? Yeah. Better.
No, it's not.
Not yet, Austin.
The bottom one. The bottom one.
Okay.
I don't think so, is it? No. They said no.
I even have this over here.
I'll have to hold one in one hand.
Get those bells.
Just get a red
Nothing
one out.
yet? Still nothing, Debbie.
It's coming.
Oh, it takes a while?
Couldn't come now? Yeah. All right.
It takes a while. You heard a pop?
Who was who?
Can you hear it now?
Carrier's tapping it.
It went back out. It's back out, Austin.
He's doing it.
Have a meeting? They'll have to read our lips.
Can you hear us now?
Okay, nobody touch him.
Okay.
Nobody talk.
Okay, so Darlene, you want to read your amendment again?
Oh, geez.
Did you already pass it to Debbie?
Okay, did everybody get the page and under round table, number 3? CM Boss reported that Rotarian Jeff Chris, on behalf of Marine Chris, asked the Rotary Club for a donation to a convention and tourism bicycle rack project.
Okay, so you just want to take the first sentence out and put that one in?
Yeah, clarify it.
In lieu of it. Does anybody else have any amendments? I would entertain a motion to accept with that amendment.
Move to accept the minutes of the March 26, 2018 regular meeting with the amendment made.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0. All right, the first item is public comments. If you're not on the agenda and you would like to speak, come to the podium and give your name, your address, and your ward. All right, we will move on to business and discussion items. The first one up is Michelle.
Hi
everybody.
Michelle.
Michelle Weitzel here with Marysville Convention and Tourism. I'm here to talk with you two nights. Wayne Cruzy and Ryan Chris from our committee are here as well to talk about the Black Squirrels on Parade and our bike rack project. I believe in your packet for the Black Squirrels on Parade, you received the proposed location of our 9 new squirrels. We're sure excited for the arrival in October, or I should say their debut in October, and are really appreciative of the sponsoring organizations and companies that are assisting us with this project. I was not extremely involved with the Black Squirrels on Parade, at least this part of the process last time around. But I believe I really just need your thoughts or your approval on the locations. It is a City of Marysville Convention and Tourism project. Many of these are on private property, but just in general, your support and approval of the locations would be great. And if you have any questions, let me know.
All these businesses told you where they want them?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
And the Lions Club, is there any problem with that, since that will be city park?
City property. Do you know what that means when it says between 2 shelters?
There's the 2 large shelters, right?
There's
Probably in
a
that
little,
grass area.
yeah, that little, well, forgive me, almost like a flower bed type thing in the middle there.
Right.
And Bill thought it would go in there.
Is there a water hydrant there?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
That looked fine to me. I mean,
I think so too.
Just as an update, we had our final artists submit their designs by last Friday. This week are, again, sponsoring businesses and organizations. We'll get to see the designs that have been submitted to us. The squirrels are on order and being produced and will arrive here in May. The artists will have through the summer to create them. I think we have to be back by September 1st-ish timeframe, and that way we'll have plenty of time to get them by Black Squirrel Night.
So you have all the artists, what they're going to do for each of these squirrels?
Everything has been submitted, and so, say there's 20 designs, as you can see, we only need 9. So the sponsoring businesses or organizations just look through the designs and kind of pick what they like, either based on what the design is, or maybe not necessarily the exact design, but maybe where the artist, they like the look and feel of where they were going with it, and then they work closely with the artist.
Well, we haven't really talked about ours.
Sure. Thursday night, I apologize, I don't remember who the contact was for your squirrel, and my apologies, Barb Kiekefer wasn't able to be with us tonight. But we are gonna have I believe she reserved City Hall on Thursday night from 5 to 6 to be able to look at designs.
Right.
And then, you all as the council and city here are, can move forward however you wish. I know you had talked about maybe some sort of voting for the public, or however you want to proceed with that. It's your call.
So I guess, you guys, what time's it at Thursday night?
5 to 6 here at City Hall.
So you guys can come look at them. Don't discuss if there's more than 5 of you. Don't discuss what you like and dislike. You might just see if there's one you like and bring it back to the council meeting, I guess.
I'm gonna be out of town. My opinion is it's mostly black.
Well, that was my big point, and why I was just gonna write like our departments on the tail with calligraphy or something and
Right.
make it really simple.
You know,
Which-
go ahead.
And, I always like the book one at the library, and I like the ones of putting like Kansas statutes and city code book, and the squirrel stands on that is what we
Right.
govern by, and then just all our departments on the tail. Something, like the red and black one for the high school, is
Right.
kind of with just a lot on the tail, was kind of what I was going toward. Was there any that were looked specific for the city?
No, and that's what makes this process kind of unique, is they're not designing with any specific business or organization in mind. But again, if you see something where someone's design, just their overall feel appeals to you, that's where that back and forth will happen in between the artist and the organization, this time being the city, and can communicate that. And if you don't see something that you like, then we can work with you to try to find an artist.
Okay.
I mean, if you have a clear-cut picture, it shouldn't be hard to.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking 99 or 95% of it would still be black.
Yeah.
But at least make it tailor-made toward City Hall.
Yeah, this is City Hall, we're the
Yeah.
city of Marysville, we're Black Squirrel City, USA. It needs to be predominantly black in front of here.
So those of you that can go ahead and go, but again, we won't discuss it till we come to the next meeting, okay? All right, thanks, Michelle.
Okay. Do I need to have any sort of, I mean, I'm okay to move forward with any of this and just keep you guys abreast on the timeline and everything?
Yeah, I think
work?
so.
Okay.
You're still expecting to have a parade on Black Squirrel Night?
We're working closely with the chamber about that, so
That's
we
always an
won't be
exciting
21 of them,
time.
but 9 this time. That's pretty exciting.
That would be great.
Yeah, yeah. The next project that we're here to talk about is the bike rack project. If you all have read our minutes from our meetings before or my notes, we've been talking about bike racks, probably since last fall. Just working with the Blue River Rail Trail Committee, Maureen being a representative from that group on our Convention and Tourism Committee, in the anticipation, number one, that the trail will connect to our downtown, and want to have a place for anybody that uses the trail to attach their bike and be able to go to our shops and our restaurants. And not only that, but the residents that live in Marysville that would like to have a bike rake to be able to, ride their bike into our community, whether for work or for their business, their errands and things like that. We have included a map in our in your packet of our proposed locations. Some of them, public area like the Pony Park. In the city park, we have so many tent campers down there, and we have had people say to us that they, don't have a place to hook their bike up anywhere down there. And there are, in front of businesses. I believe there's one there that says 9th and Broadway, like Reflections type area. That one is a general location for that corner. United Bank and Trust is in for this. If we move forward, they would like to have one, as is First Commerce Bank. So we do have quite a few businesses. I know we've talked about, we want to make sure that they want them there. Obviously, they're going to have to coordinate snow removal and things like that around that. But overall, overwhelmingly, we have found that our businesses are in favor of it, those that we've talked to. Our group did not want to have this have to be funded by the city or by Convention and Tourism, so we are seeking organizations and businesses to be donors for this project. And so far, we have 19 or 20. So we feel really confident that we can get the bike racks themselves paid for. You can see that they're outlined on this sheet. We did have a public meeting. Todd was there, members of the Blue River Rail Trail Committee, and the public was invited, but of the Black Squirrel Cycling Club, to get their input on the type of bike rack and how this was important. If you want to jump in, Todd, you can. I don't know as much about, specifically they don't want their bike leaning and things like that. Many of the bikes, these fancy bikes, don't have kickstands.
And not all bike racks are created equal. That was kind of the gist of it.
Right.
I think, and I was there representing not the city, but the Black Squirrel Cycling League. Been a lot of towns that have a lot of racks, and a lot of them vary in style, but they vary in usefulness. Something like this is a lot simpler. It's a lot less footprint, but it's pretty universal. It won't do damage to the bike, and it won't do anything. It won't be in the way as much as some of them. A lot of the linear bike racks take up so much real estate, and they become a trap for leaves and things, that detritus that blows around, whereas this kind, I think, just kind of ends up looking a lot nicer. It's easier to maintain.
Other than the banks, what business owners have given you the okay?
The Advocate, if you want to jump in, you can. Several organizations want to help when you think about like the general areas. Like I said,
But the business owners have to take care of their sidewalks, so.
Absolutely.
So are you
have to
gonna
be on
get
board.
them in writing that they're okay with it before you put it in?
If that is your recommendation, we absolutely can. And hopefully their financial commitment to it, to pay for one of these, could
Right.
hopefully speak for that as well.
And you would think, that'd be kind of in combination.
Right.
So when I'm looking at this, the ones that you want to put on Broadway, it seems like you'd have to put the bike rack this way, because the sidewalks are only 10 feet. So if you couldn't put them this way because it'd take too much of the sidewalk. So wouldn't you have to put them this way? So it'd go across the front of the
Right.
car? Because if you have it this way,
Yeah, you want to
It's-
make sure there's room to get between it and the cars and the other side of it probably as well. So like that, or I think that meeting was like 500 meetings ago.
Right, feels forever ago.
But that, or in the orange one in the picture is on a slight angle, something like
Yeah,
that. But
well,
I
I-
don't think it could be perpendicular to the
yeah,
building, is
because
what you're saying.
Yeah,
because you don't
that's
want
a
to
good
make
question,
the
Tom.
access
Right,
on the
because
sidewalk hindered
A
because.
bike is like 5 foot long, a long
Yeah,
bike. yeah.
and
Yeah.
I think most of our sidewalks are only 10 feet long.
So yeah, you would have to have it either on an angle or parallel to the building.
Yeah, so
or the
this, if
street.
you parked up to it, because you want to be, you don't want to
Right.
block the people getting out of their cars to get into the sidewalk either. So that's why you said at a slight
Yeah, you would
angle.
have to be kind of careful with it. And one of the other things I remember discussing at that meeting was in some locations, like, it's not Toledo's, Empty Cup on here now, was potentially having it on the side because the side of the building has a little more depth to it and there's no tree there, there's no trash can there, there's no, it would have a lot more room. You'd have to, I think, look in those spots where you don't want it right up next to a tree and a trash can. And so, because then you really would be having a traffic flow problem. You'd have to be kind of smart about placement. But in a brightly colored design, assuming it's, I don't know what the color and the final decision will be,
We're flexible on that.
but it won't be like hidden. And so, but I think having it, a little bit of flexibility with the business owner would be the way to
Seems
go.
like it'd have to line up with at least a parking space so that you can get around, because if it's in between parking spaces and it interrupt the flow of the people coming out of their cars.
Yeah, you should be far enough back where that would be a non-issue. And because I imagine you'd want to leave, I don't remember what ADA distance
And
is.
you wouldn't hate to
but-
have people hit your bike.
Well, that's definitely true as well. And you wouldn't want people to hit these either, because if they hit one, it would probably pop the concrete, so.
Yeah,
You'd have to be a little careful with the placement,
where
you're
you
right.
put them, yeah.
And that was a little bit, I remember discussing that at the meeting, because there's some places where you might be able to put it, like in front of the library, there's enough room where you might be able to put it perpendicular, but you're right, in other places, it's too narrow. In front of like the laundromat and other places there where you have a lot, you could set it off towards the back of the sidewalk because there's a grass area, and you can really get it away from the street.
Does the library already have a bike rack?
No. No, but a lot of bikes get leaned up against the building.
And they would prefer it on the sidewalk rather than like in that pocket park?
We have not asked them that question.
Now, see, the ones at the Plaza Park, Tony Plaza Park, would those be on grass or cement?
The ones at the Pony Plaza Park and any proposed ones at the city park, we would have to put concrete pads in.
So they'll actually be setting
So
in the
you
grass.
would put them on the grass?
No, I
You're
think
gonna
they
put
don't.
concrete-
They're gonna put
They would be
concrete
just
pads in.
off the current sidewalk in a new pad that's in a current grass area.
Yes.
Yeah,
You're gonna put a concrete pad in
just
the
like
concrete
like a
sidewalk?
bump out. Yeah,
That's the way I understood it.
that was the way I understood it. I mean, there at the park, you can see there's a ton of sidewalk. There's not a lot of, I don't think there'd be a lot of conflict for space, but my thought would be it would come out maybe 2 feet.
Yeah.
And there, that might be a great location to put it perpendicular to the sidewalk, because then you're minimizing the amount of grass that
Right.
you're actually taking up.
So you are putting it in the grass, on a cement pad?
On a
cement
pad, in
where
current
there's
grass.
currently
Yes.
grass.
Okay,
Phrasing.
on the grass, on a
Yes.
cement pad. I got it.
And
Now,
I think one thing maybe I should clarify too, what we've tried to do when we're trying to get businesses and organizations to be a part of this, like Marysville Sport and Rec, for instance, wants to purchase a bike rack. Their bike rack doesn't need to be in front of Marysville Sport and Rec. We've gotten, like I said, up to 19 so far that have said if this goes forward, we'd like to support it. Now, several, like a United Bank and Trust said, a bank is an essential service to the community. We think that our patrons would use it. But, like Main Street's going to buy a bike rack, and it doesn't necessarily go in front of my Main Street office, just in support of those more common areas. And this is flexible. We just want to take into account what visitors would use and what residents would use. I mean, I know Todd uses his bike.
Yeah.
If I didn't have to drop kids off at daycare any morning, I would ride my bike to work.
And that's, you know, that's something too, where you want them kind of spaced in such a way that there's a lot of options and you can kind of see one from the next too, ideally. And like the Black Squirrel Cycling League's discussing sponsoring one. And so, yeah, we'd be flexible too. That could be one there. And there's not one shown in this picture really in the 7th Street corridor, but there's that section there through where the farmer's market area and all that. There's a lot of spots
And
there
we've
that would
talked
be
about
a
that.
good place potentially.
Right, we
there's a
have to
couple of
really
them here.
run it past, you know, with the city and then the
Right.
people that organized events in there during the year, plus the
right.
farmer's market, making sure that we weren't just shoving that right in the middle and disrupting their operations.
And ideally, at some point in the future, once the trails finish through, it'd be a good place to have one of those temporary work stands
we've
and
talked
things.
about that. That's a
lot
goal,
of
too.
A lot of trails have those now, where it's like a little pop-up. You can just kind of lock your bike down, and the tools are all cabled, so they can't be walked off.
So you could air up your tires
Is there-
and things like that. That would be a really great thing.
And, you know, you see people down there with bikes more often than you'd think. I see an out-of-towner down there every couple, not this time of year, but every couple weeks, so.
So what do you need from us right now?
I think just a general approval for, you know, in support of the project going forward. We would obviously come back with
Definite
definite
stuff.
places where these would go, as well as saying, you know, if we want 20 of these, we have 20 funded bike racks. As you can see from what I said earlier, we would be asking the city to, you know, help with installation. And then if there was a concrete pad, which I think based on what we're looking at, it would just be Pony Park and City Park.
Yes.
I'd like to ask a question. These will only accommodate, what, 2 bicycles?
2 bikes.
Right. Has anybody talked to Johnny Logic about, you're gonna put something anchored down in the middle of a sidewalk? How's our liability insurance? Are we gonna be covered if somebody gets hurt because they fall on one of these things? Because it's just on the sidewalk and somebody coming out of a building.
You're saying, is it more at a risk? I don't know. Tripping hazard? I don't know.
I mean, it's a smaller footprint than a trash can or some of the other things we already have propped in the sidewalk. I would think that if we're protected for trash cans and trees and
You can go
light
in and ask
poles,
the question.
it wouldn't hurt to ask,
Yeah,
but.
just ask the question.
Well,
And because we'll want to be careful too, as far as
Devil's
placement for
advocate,
that.
just was curious, like say you got a bike sitting there and then the tires are sticking out, somebody's got a car door open, somebody's going by with a wheelchair, they don't fit.
Yeah, the wheelchair.
accommodate
seems like-
everybody.
Yeah,
We'll want to make sure we have
definitely
the
stay away
ADA
from
width,
handy-
even with a bike
handicap.
there.
Yeah.
And actually, and I would ask if Maureen would correct me if I'm wrong, the company that we're going through for this has almost like a guide of specifications, and I think we've talked about
Yeah.
that, of in terms of placement and width and everything, to hopefully set us up for success for that.
Because, yeah, they make their living off of selling
Right.
these. I'm sure they have always keep it this far from a doorway, this far from an intersection, this far from another object.
So are you guys okay with them proceeding at this time and having them come back?
The only question I have is don't plan on getting them all up at one time, because you're gonna have to work around the city crews if they're installing them.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's another thing, we're gonna be street ceiling and everything else, and they're gonna want bike stands up.
Yeah, and
Well, it's not gonna
I think,
happen.
I want to make sure that there's not a surprise, so that all the people actually put in writing that they're okay with the bike where you plan to put it.
We can-
Because I
we can
think it's
have them do
important,
that,
if we're
Carla.
going to be putting it in, we don't want to have any, any conflict at all.
Like an MOU with
Yeah.
business,
We
yeah.
can do that, absolutely.
Because I just, like I said, I just don't wanna tire city crews up, a long time on a project like this either.
And that makes sense. I think they could come in phases. And
So
it would-
what time frame are you thinking about?
Will you remind me of production time, please?
6 weeks, I think.
It would be 6 weeks to produce then.
Okay, so when are you first?
We'd love to have some in this summer.
Okay, well,
Start.
before you put them in, make sure you
Well,
bring the little,
absolutely.
Yep.
in writing that they're okay with it, and, where you want us to start. Is everyone okay with this?
Should be neat if we could see one of them.
That's as close
Do you have one, Maureen, in your
That's as
car?
close as I've got.
Maybe in front of City Hall can be the first one?
There you go. And
just
we
don't-
have had, for instance, I haven't gotten a final confirmation, but like CMH is very interested in that. For their employees, for their, patients. So I think that we're pretty happy with the support that we've received so far from
I just don't wanna see-
businesses and organizations.
Thing I don't want to see like down in Pony Park is like 10 of them, boom,
No.
boom, 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 boom,
No.
stacked up.
We
I
don't want to
just-
see that either.
I just don't, it takes away from what we have created down there.
I think the most logical ones are the ones that by the camping area.
Yeah.
Right, absolutely, and actually
But I
that
guess you
wasn't
have to
on my
kinda-
radar when we first started. I'm
But you
thinking
kind
the
of have to
post
make sure,
office
like,
and the
what we use the park for, that you didn't interfere with, well, you're.
The Mother's Day market,
Yeah, all
absolutely.
your activities, you have to kind of think,
Yeah.
okay, this is ideal for the biking, but is it ideal for everything we use this park for?
Sure,
So-
and that's the same thing what we want to do with the Pony Park and the 7th Street corridor.
Well, the old depot has a lot of room. Of course, that's a private organization.
That would be a great place,
That would-
especially as the trail runs through. Absolutely. I think I can not speak for the rest of my committee, but I was, extremely happy that we got so much support so fast. We thought, if we could get 10 of them committed, and just like I said, overwhelmingly, businesses and organizations have said, yes, we will, chip in for this because we see the need
So are
for it.
you putting little plaques on them for who sponsors them, or what are you
We're
doing?
still working that out so far, if there'll be some sort of recognition on the actual bike rack or somewhere else.
Are you putting the same symbol inside all of them?
Our goal was to have the 3 that you have seen there and limiting the icon to the bike or the Blue River Rail Trail. That was going to be purchased by their trail group, I believe, or the members, maybe I should say that.
I'm shocked you're not having a black squirrel.
I was gonna say, sure would be cool with a squirrel.
We're
cat.
open
Yeah.
to suggestions. We just liked the, for them to all be uniform versus,
Yeah.
It'd be nice to have the ones on the
20
park.
different icons. What
The
did you
ones on
say?
city property, it'd be nice to have black squirrels.
Yeah.
Keep it
Just a
simple.
hint.
Keeping it simple.
I'm just, like the ones at the park, that would go with everything else in the park, I think, better.
Right.
So,
I was thinking the color that the trash cans are, because it kind of blend in, would be that
You
kind
want
of
them to blend
charcoal
But
gray.
there's an argument against them blending in for safety and for, that way when you're riding, it's like, boom, that's.
there.
I mean, and honestly, the guys who I talk to who ride bikes through here, ride down from Nebraska, or they're riding cross country, they want to know where can they eat? Where can they wash their clothes? Where can they get Band-Aids? And I mean, so having them in, it's down by the, blue one and green one, it's kind of a draw for them to be able to see that and park there and
Won't there
come to that
be
area.
brochures that,
We
and that's-
can totally make a bike rack brochure.
I honestly, my dream would be, besides the work stand down here at the Pony Park or the cross to the south, would be something like a little bit of an information board that's like, you are here, and it shows restaurants and things, and that would direct them out
isn't
from there.
that kind of
That'd be
like the
great.
walking tour that you're working on?
Absolutely, the signage committee, I think that's in your notes for March. Our signage committee would like to have a
Got
informational
lots of ideas if you want.
kiosk bike area. Well, you can join our signage committee anytime.
All right.
Okay, and I just have one more thing, and this really doesn't apply just to you, but I just wanted to give everybody on the council a heads up to remember that all boards and committees are subject to KOMA, Kansas Open Meetings Act. So it is best if all committee meetings go through Debbie and let her send it out with the agenda so that proper notice is given to everyone that's requested it. So when Wayne is ready, or Wayne, you prepared the agendas?
That's correct.
Will you please send it to Debbie so and tell her who's on your mailing list, and then she'll make sure it combines with her mailing list, and we just want to make sure everything's done correctly, okay?
Sure.
All right, and always remember, anytime you have a quorum of a council or board, or committee, you should refrain from discussing the business of that body until a meeting is properly called and brought to order, okay? So just a friendly reminder, but I think all our other boards go through Debbie, so I think it's probably best to go through Debbie. Is that all right? Okay. That's not directed strictly at convention and tourism, that's,
Like when we have our next meeting, I should send the agenda to her and she should send it out.
she'll distribute it out, yeah.
and probably like what Michelle referred to, a public meeting.
Yeah,
Something like
I wasn't
that,
aware of
too. I
that,
wasn't
public
either.
meeting, so,
For the bike racks, I don't even remember when it was, last fall.
I didn't even think of it as a meeting. It was more like, hey, we're gonna be talking about this. You're a bike guy, right? Come on by. So,
I believe Sarah had it in the paper, and we had had it on like the Sport and Rec and Main Street Facebook pages.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
Okay,
remember.
so if you just send it to the city, that way
Yep,
everyone on the city.
we can do that.
Okay,
All right.
Thank
very
you.
much.
all right, moving along. Policy A81. Now, I looked at this, and you weren't in the office today, so I had some revisions. Surprise, surprise, Debbie's laughing. You're surprised you have revisions. So, mine are just kind of changing the words around, putting verb texts in. Do you guys want me to tell you what all of them are?
Want to do it and bring it back?
Okay, you guys, are you okay in general about policy A81? And is there any amendments or changes you want before I give Debbie mine?
Well, I wondered under B, where it says allowed by the solicitation. Just, I
Can they be either way? Austin?
What do you mean?
The bids and proposals are required or allowed by the solicitation?
Yeah, they could be either way, because they could
Hard
send,
copy-
they
hard
could send
copy
an
or-
yeah, they could send an email, they could, depending on, typically if it's a sealed bid, I require it be in an envelope, but there's just other smaller ones that they can send an email and I reveal them all at once.
Well, and then I wonder if under D, if it, because the bids couldn't be sealed if they're sent electronically.
They're not always sealed bids, though.
But if we do ask for,
If they are sealed, then they are required to be physical copies.
okay,
Yeah.
to me, it doesn't really specifically say that.
If hard copies and proposals are required, and then it has an or allowed. So it's either you're required to send it paper, or I'm allowing you, if it's not a sealed bid, and you're allowed to send and I'm not requiring you to send it electronically, they can send it paper, but it has to be labeled as such.
I just wonder if we could state that a little clearer.
Well, you know what? You can draft something up or give it to Debbie and work on it.
Okay.
So B and D, mine are really just grammatical things, and it's adding, on E, I wanted to add that the public is welcome to attend, and just add at the ending, passed by council and approved by the mayor on a date, to make it more consistent with the other policies. So I'll give you my changes, and we'll bring it back at the next meeting, and you get with Debbie before the next meeting as well?
Okay.
Okay, so we'll do next meeting. Sorry, I guess I should have caught you this afternoon, huh? Okay, Dennis Mason, you're up.
Kind of a continuing on thing.
A continuing saga.
Yeah.
Greg is anxious to hear what you have learned.
Okay, now first, I guess I brought a couple things along I wanted to pass out. I had intentions of doing this last week. I thought I left a copy of these two papers here for your information.
Well, we got a copy of a quote.
Well, that has to do with the cable.
Okay.
And that we need on the Main Street.
But what else do we need?
Well, a couple of things I just thought I'd pass for your information. This is what the appliance would look like when we get done with that little park plug-in. That's what the fans would have, a device like that. I've made one for the Knights of Columbus like that, where you use a 220 plug-in, 50
You
amp.
want to get the microphone?
Well, that's something else, though.
We've got that.
You have copies of that?
We had that in the information packet.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
At the Veterans Memorial, we did get that one.
Okay, I do see that now. Okay. So anyway, it's just information.
Okay. This one here has to do with your electricity,
Yeah,
solving our
it's what the
electric.
bands would have to provide for us.
Okay,
We'll give them the 220 outlet, then they have to devise their own way of taking that down to what they need. And that works, so they have
That
the
makes sense.
responsibility of that.
anybody who is electrical, that makes sense? Not mine. Okay.
Those two cookers with chicken there, that come with it?
Pardon?
Those two cookers that are on there, they're coming with chicken?
Well, no, that's what we use for beans.
So we're going to provide this box?
No, all you
They
have to
provide this
provide
box?
just the plug-in on the wall.
Okay.
That's appliance plug-in for 220, single phase.
So we will communicate that to all the bands?
We don't have to, they'll have it automatic. When they say that, they'll know, if they have the appliance, they can plug it in and they come prepared with that.
Okay.
They
I'm gonna
promised
trust you
me.
on that.
They
Okay.
I said, no, you're sure this is what you want? Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, now, let's see.
This is what they'll have.
That's what we'll have.
Yep.
The progress on the electrical needs. Dave has ordered the materials, I understand, and that's going to be a relatively easy process to finish that up. It wouldn't take much time. Next will be the speakers on Broadway, and we didn't actually last time decide whether or not to go ahead with the expense, and I think we need to have a council vote on the cable. Dave, I give my bid that I got from this Newark company for the $999 I mentioned, so he can see, but it was including taxes and shipping.
Okay.
And so without that, it was $800 and some for the actual cable, but the shipping is going to be there. Even if you do decide to set up an account with that, you can save about $100 by getting your sales tax free.
Okay.
I think that company will probably do it. Some places, there are difficulties.
So you're saying like the 851 that we have here, if we approve it, we would have to add shipping to it. There'd be additional.
You'd have to know what the shipping is going to be added on to.
Okay, okay.
And I guess, I don't know if they broke it down on that or not, I don't recall.
No, all we have is that one number.
Okay, well, that's what that guy gave me, was I imagine the taxes in the ballpark of 10%, I guess. So that'd be $100, because it was $999, so if we set up the account, it would be simple to do.
Okay.
And you get the tax-free then.
Okay, we can do that.
I'm out of the circuit probably, in that sense. I think they were using my account that I have wholesale prices come to. It doesn't matter to me. I'll sign anything on that, whatever you want to, So, but anyway, we should probably make a decision if we want to make that expenditure.
Now, is this just for the wiring? Is that what this is for?
It's the audio speaker wiring.
Audio speaker wire, okay.
It's the speaker wiring that we have to replace the old. It's too small. And
are we still going to make those cuts?
well, now that's I've got, Dave is looking into that. He thinks there might be an alternate way, and he thinks that we might be able to pull out one cable.
Oh, he said he was going to reduce the electricity from a 240 to a 120. Is this what you're talking about?
On the lighting system itself, yes. That's
Yeah.
what he was referring to. And there's some extra wires because of that. We can pull one wire out, and that leaves a place to put another wire back in.
He's skeptical.
They pull the other
if he
one
could
in
pull
with
the
it.
one out.
What?
Yeah, we want
He
to make
said
sure
he's
we pull the
skeptical
wire in
if
when
you
we pull
could-
one out.
If you can pull the one out, there's a good possibility you could pull another one in, but he was kind of skeptical.
You use it.
Yeah, if you can get the old one pulled out.
If you can get the old one pulled out.
If it hasn't set their date.
Nobody said it's going to be
They
easy.
didn't tape them together.
Yeah.
when
And
they
if we
pulled
can't
the
do
trees.
it, then the alternative is to have to slice into the concrete and put a trench.
Okay.
An
so-
inch square.
So you're saying this, we would need this either way? Well, this 851. This wire we need, whether or not you pull it in or out or put it in the cement. We need this wire.
We need the wire to
Okay.
start with. Now, first of all, we don't have any wire strung between the park and clear to 4th Street. So this is included in what we need to do that with too.
Okay.
There will be some of that old wire as it breaks down into the individual components, so we can save a lot of the heavy cable for just the big runs and tap the smaller to feed each speaker. It'll be all right that way.
So this is actually from 7th to 4th? Is that what-
Technically from 10th Street to
10th?
the whole thing.
10th to 4th on Broadway, on both sides?
Yeah.
That's all you want us to do? We only have to buy this wiring? This is solving the problem, $851?
Yes, but putting it in is not quite as simple as it
Okay.
sounds.
I'm like, all this time we've been trying to get this right but
But if we can reuse the conduits that are there on both ends, will be a very simple process to pull the audio in there in that place, in place of the old wire that's not used. And that's one of the plan too.
is this buying from Newark?
Newark, it's a New Jersey company that supplies, they have a catalog that thick of materials and stuff.
Is it called Newark Company?
Newark Electronics.
Just
I
Newark
suppose.
Electronics, okay. Okay, well, do I have a motion to accept this, to direct, to purchase this wire from Newark Electronics for $851 plus shipping? Do I have a motion for that?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we purchase the wire from Newark.
For $851
for
plus shipping?
$851 plus shipping.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, what else do you need, Dave?
Nothing,
Dennis?
thank you very
Oh,
much.
gosh, that was easy. Okay.
Yeah, that
Well,
was
thank
easy
you.
to
So
do.
once you get this,
Pardon?
how soon do you expect to get this?
The wire is, well, they haven't, you gotta first set up an account, and it has to be done before, I think, April 24th or something like that.
You could do that
Otherwise,
right
that quote, that price quote will go away.
Okay,
So the time element is for that.
Deb will take care of that.
And then getting the cable here, I'm almost gonna suggest that we try to do the wiring from the park down to Forest Street, because there's no facilities there, and that's gonna be the other half of where we need the sound. We get that in there first, then
Go
we
south.
go up and replace the old.
Go west first.
As time goes by.
Okay, and so will you get with Debbie, you won't be in tomorrow, on Wednesday maybe? Is that good? Maybe. So come in and meet with,
Afternoon or
Okay,
Thursday. I'll get a hold of
with
you,
them,
Dennis.
okay.
I'll get
Is
a hold of
speakers and the microphone and all that all right?
I think,
Because didn't we
I
have
haven't
problems
seen-
with that last year?
I haven't heard it.
Somebody blew the amp at the time, that was the issue.
That was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
he said it's gonna work. I have all the
And there was
confidence.
a second one on hand.
I don't know, did we replace the amp then?
We have 2 amps and we got the one fixed, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that's a big amp, and what I found out was very surprising. 2,000 watt amplifier is what you have for your speakers up and down the area. That's a lot of power. And to say the least, that little number 24 wire was way too small for that.
Ah, okay.
Anyway, so we needed to do that upgrade anyway.
Well, thank you, Dennis.
Okay, you're welcome.
So Greg,
Oh.
what do you have?
Just to add to this a little bit, and Dennis is exactly right, we need the wire. We can't do anything without the wire. But once we get the wire, and hopefully Dave and I and Dennis have all talked about it, hopefully we can pull a wire this big out, and you're right, it's not gonna be easy. I know a guy that's got a Ford truck that can pull it out if we need to. We'll hook onto it. Pulling the old one out and getting the new one in, which is quite a bit smaller. Hopefully that will happen, and we can pull that out. That will take care of west of the Pony, all the way down to
4th Street?
Okay, and it's not really concerned at all, but the way we have it temporarily wired now to the east of the Pony, that still is gonna have to be sawed, just a little short area from the box to the pole, and we're still kind of working on that area. We found a guy that will saw that for 75 cents a foot, which is not a real big deal. If we can still saw it, and put it in ground, and protect, because all the conduit is going to all the poles to the east. The conduit is actually specifically for the speakers. So if we can, once we get this wire, we're gonna determine how we can get it from sometimes this far to this far, to get it from the square box that's in the ground to the pole and up in the pole. And so we've talked to them, and we think for 75 cents a foot for a short distance, it's 50 cents a foot for a long distance. If, God forbid, we have to go clear across the street, he gives us a better price for sawing it to where we can put this conduit, or put the speaker wire in the ground and cover it back up. Am I right? I mean,
Yeah, except I might add that the possibility exists of us maybe using some of the electrical conduit up on the east side too.
possibly.
We don't have to do any
yes.
slicing
Right,
at all with.
possibly, yeah. The existing streetlights is what he's talking about, so.
Okay.
But a little concern is, Dave Richardson showed me a picture the other day with a street light and the bolts coming up there. They're probably not gonna come off real easy. And so, these street light poles are gonna have to be taken off and tilted or whatever to do west or east of the horse, pony, west of the horse. I don't think it'll be a problem if we can get that wire out of there. I think that'll be a piece of cake if we can get that wire out of there, so.
So you're going to start west, and then if you have complications, you're going to come back and let us know the story on the east?
Well, the east shouldn't be a problem at all.
Okay.
It really shouldn't. I mean, we've got a plan, if we have to use the conduit that they actually put in for the speakers. That shouldn't be a problem. I mean,
Okay.
Short little cuts.
Yeah, little shortcuts. That shouldn't be a big deal at all.
Okay.
So.
Well, thanks for spurring us, Greg, to get this done.
Well, we're excited about it. Thank you so much for
Is
buying
that-
the, thank you
is
so
that
much for
a-
buying the speaker wire.
Is that speaker wire, is that shielded?
Yes.
Yes,
Is
it
it?
is.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I was worried about is if
And
we're-
16 gauge, I
Okay.
put a note in
That
there about
should be
16 gauge.
Plenty
and that-
heavy enough, I would
Yeah,
think.
it's heavy enough and it's all wrapped good. He actually brought me a little piece of sample and it should be really good. And once we get this baby buried, hopefully it'll be forever.
Stay there.
So,
Okay, well, thank you. Appreciate your efforts.
thank you.
All right. Going on to notices and hearings, is there anything to report? Then we'll move on to the consent agenda, which consists of the city clerk, the municipal judge's report, revenue and expense, and convention and tourism requests. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second? Is there any discussion? I would just like to point out, I hope you guys read through the judge's report, but did you notice that there were some of those that were received from Set Off? That we've sent to state Set Off, and some of them were back from 2012, 2009. So it does work, but it's been a while. But, and she had significant collections in municipal courts, so it could be, she did send out some more 30-day letters, so that was all encouraging. So I just wanted to point that out.
And I noticed that we were up to dog tags number 246. Is that all the dogs we have in town? 246?
Is that a typical number that's tagged? It's a typical number that's tagged? That's your response, it's a typical number that's tagged. But everyone, please tag your dog, right, in case it gets picked up?
Darlene, did you tag your dog?
Of course. Of course.
Well, cats were only up to 36.
Yeah.
Only
That is
36
surprising.
cats?
I see that many.
Mine.
I see a lot of cats around.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0, all right. And then we have our appropriations ordinance.
I move that we approve appropriations ordinance number 3672 in the amount of $314,150.20. One large item in there is $100,411 for the city insurance policy through Alliance. And another is $42,342 for the Haydite aggregate, and $7,500 to Don Bruna for the drainage work at the ball fields. And let's see, $12,266 our monthly payment to Marysville Ambulance.
All right, those are the big items. Thank you for pointing those out. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Foss,
Yes.
Pipia,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Hughes,
Yes.
Fry,
Yes.
Schroller,
Yes.
Throm,
Yes.
Barnes.
Yes.
It's 8-0.
All right. I was just making a note, and I realized I will be at the food pantry Thursday from 5 to 6, so I hope some of you guys come and look at the designs on the squirrels. I just looked at the date here. Okay, staff report, city administrator.
All right, first one, we got the confirmation from Hall Brothers on their finalization of the Clink project. They said in their letter that they would finish by the end of May, although in an email he thought he would finish way before that. With that, I'm recommending moving forward and paying the final payment for the Clink project so we can put that behind us and receive the KDOT payment.
And he said he does have an email from Hall Brothers that the $3,500 is acceptable.
Yes.
To reduce that amount by.
This is
That he will put with the check.
With the check, yes.
So that we have it supported in our paperwork?
Yep.
Mayor, could I ask a question?
Yes.
Are we holding them up from finishing what they got, that they still got something to do with? Are they done?
We're not holding them up. We're not holding them up. They are being held up by their equipment. They got one thing to finalize, the sealing around the manholes. Was inadequate, so they're gonna finish that up. That's the note they put in there, that they will finish that up. We're just paying them the rest that they are owed. This is basically an insurance note saying they're gonna finish it otherwise.
Okay, but then you want to hold some money back from what, you want to pay it all?
No, we want to pay $25,683.35, which is $3,500 less than what is owed to them because of the overage we had to pay in engineering.
Remember when we did the change
Yeah,
order and
yeah,
we said
yeah.
we shouldn't have to eat that cost, and Hall Brothers has agreed to eat that $3,500. So we paid BG, and now we're getting reimbursed for that.
Yes.
Okay. I understand where the 35 is then, yeah.
Okay, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I move and approve the final KDOT Clink payment in the amount of $25,683.35 to come from sales tax.
Is there a second?
Second it.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0, all right.
And then I got the Lakeview ADA parking with sidewalk options. I do want to be up front. I neglected to put in the bidding process the sidewalk that we had talked about from up above and down through the gate to see how much that was going to be. That was my oversight. But nonetheless, I received bids for the Lakeview ADA project for the 6 ADA parking stalls with a walkway in front of them, and then a option number 1, which we would do regardless of the sidewalk going from the ADA parking to the crossing at the concession stands. And then we were trying to decide between a sidewalk going on the north side of the concession stand.
Correct.
Versus one on the west side of the concession stand. And as David and I were talking about it, we felt, in our opinion, that the west one would be most beneficial. And if we really wanted to do the one on the north side, that one was the easier one down the road.
So we're doing 2 of the 4 sides now, though. Number 2 and number 3? We're doing 1.
No, one, so on the map, on this diagram, we would be doing the parking, option number 1 and option number 3.
And not do number 2?
Don't do number 2 as of right now. That's our recommendation anyways. We were wanting to see how much it would cost and if it would be worth it. Though, if we were to go with the lowest bid, it was, and we did all the options, it was over $15,000. And we only budgeted 10 for this whole project.
Well, we put, there's 20 in there, 10 for drainage and 10 for...
Yes, so that gives us 12.5 for the project. because his was 7,500, I believe. So we had 12,500 overall for the ADA.
We have any cushion in there? We have 2,000 of undesignated. Ever used any of that?
Yeah. I know he wants to eventually look at putting some windows in that, because they're falling out and
In the concession stand.
Huh?
In the concession stand.
on top. Those were wooden frames.
I want to ask a silly question. Do we need all those windows up there since they don't use it anymore?
I don't think we need all of them up there,
Just, you know,
but we need
Now,
to
what are
see
you
over the
talking
diamonds.
about?
above the concession stand, since it's all electronic scoreboards now, they don't need they don't use it the way it was originally
It's
used.
for circulation.
But for this project, as we're recommending it, once you get to the concession stand, they already have a sidewalk that goes all the way around.
Yeah.
So that gets them, if they get to the concession stand, they can get anywhere they want to after that.
You don't think we should go ahead and do that for 1438 since they're already up there? And I mean,
That was my thought on the other sidewalk, was that it's while they're already up there.
yeah. Well, I'm just thinking,
Mobilization.
yeah, you have them up there, just doing 2 and 3.
I would.
It's only 1438.
This
What
this
does,
one.
is two, just to make that area wider on that side of the concession stand? Because there is concrete around there, correct?
There is, that he put it a little bit out there, away from the concrete.
Just to make it wider for circulation?
Yeah, it was just to get them around there if they needed to.
It drops off pretty good.
Well,
There's a lot of drop from that corner.
Oh, and that was the other why we weren't recommending at this time, that number 2 could cause some drainage issues in the future, because putting it could allow for some rock to flow more than necessary. And that was also in our conversation, me and David's.
You and David?
Yeah, we were talking about that, and it would.
Oh, David Richardson?
Yeah.
I was like, David?
Yeah.
You agree with that, Kevin?
Yeah, I do.
About the drainage things
Yeah.
on the north side? So you think doing 1 and 3 is
1 and 3 for
sufficient?
right now would be sufficient, I
And
think.
you don't think we're going to regret not doing 2?
I don't think so at the current time, because like they said, you can come around, once you get down on 3 and come over, you're right there at the concession stand. So you can get all the way around. I mean, if you got somebody playing on the blue diamond up there,
Is it wide
red
enough?
diamond, you can come around and go up.
Is it wide enough to get around it though when people aren't there? Because I didn't think it was that wide. That
Probably not.
I didn't think it's ADA width.
It's not ADA wide. So we may have to come back in and put some more concrete around the concession stand, at least on the south and east side.
If you're trying to be ADA compliant.
Yep.
Probably should if you're providing for parking.
Yep.
I know they have to have a 5-foot turning radius.
Yeah.
Are there ADA restrooms? Okay.
Nope. The doors aren't ADA accessible.
I think the stall is, but not the door itself to the restroom.
The stalls aren't.
The men's stall isn't?
Nope.
I kind of glanced at it just like a couple hours ago, and I thought it was. No.
It's not near wide enough.
Well, what do you guys want to do?
Take it down to the ground.
Do you want to?
Dream.
I helped build that one.
Did you?
So, what do you want to do? I mean, for 1430, you don't think we should do the
2.
number 2? Okay.
Not at this time.
So if you.
I mean, if we come back here in the future and.
We'll do that other sidewalk and do that,
Yeah.
another stage.
And that's just
Maybe
it.
after-
It may be
After
something,
the season,
yeah.
back and look at it next year.
Well, and that might be something, we need to look at is after we get this in, that, hey, we don't have enough room to get somebody around the concession stand, we may have to come out and, put another 5 foot on the south and east side of the concession stand to get somebody in a wheelchair or walker or something around through there.
Speaking of that, this is off the cuff, but I was at the Kester House Museum for Museum Day opening, and I looked out the door, and there was a man trying to carry his wheelchair up the steps to get into the Kester House Museum. And he kept falling down, and I raced out the door, and I said, I don't think you should come up here. I mean, there's no access to it. And inside the rooms are so narrow, I thought, once you get in there, you're gonna be stuck too. I mean, so I just said, why don't you just look at the gardens and look at the stable back there and the kitchen, but it was the scariest thing watching. And I said, did you carry this wheelchair over those steps? And he goes, yeah. And I said, well, if you go down the alley, it's a straight shot. I was just like, oh my, it was kind of scary. That's a totally different story, but.
Maybe, I mean, as far as access to the garden, should we have some sort of signage in the front that says handicapped entrance and like an arrow? You know, to try to direct people to that so that, you know, they can get to the gardens.
Well, the worst part was nobody was with this gentleman. He was all by himself.
Yeah.
I was like, so, yeah, we probably should think about
Some sort of
signs.
signage, because usually, I mean, my experience has been if you're somewhere that, like that doesn't have to be, or there isn't one in the front, you have a sign that explains there isn't
And
access.
I told him, I said, and if you go down the alley, then you can get to the Pony Express barn, which is flat. I mean, you can get into that easy. So, anyway, going back to this, so you want to pull sidewalk number 2, and whichever, the low bid was All Things Construction, which I asked,
Was who?
All Things Construction.
and I asked Austin who that was, and he said it was Matt G. Matt G. So FYI. That would still be the low bid, right, if you pull out number 2?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the other thing on this, you know, the main reason we're trying to get that handicap area moved was because of the incident we had up there last year, with somebody almost getting struck from the car coming out of that circle area where the cones are now. That's why we want to get the handicap up out of there.
Right.
So we don't get somebody hurt up there.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so the low bid would be All Things Construction, and if you take away the $1,438, I believe it's $14,097, is it? Did you already have that?
She had it reversed.
I thought I wrote that out.
Put those up.
14,097.
$14,097, okay.
Yeah, and 50 cents.
Well, it doesn't have 50 cents at the bottom. Does that add?
It's 10,920 plus 1850 plus 1327 and 50 cents.
Okay. So you think adding 50 cents will do it?
I was glad to see we had a lot of bidding interest in this.
Yeah. There was a lot.
I mean, usually we only get 1 or 2 bids. I mean, I was glad to see we had
We
and there was a wide range of bids too. I mean, it wasn't.
Okay, $14,097.50.
Yep.
Someone would like to make a
Madam
motion?
Mayor, I make a motion, we do the Lakeview ADA parking and sidewalk in the amount of $14,097.50 to All Things Construction,
Coming out of the general fund?
coming out of the general fund.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0. All right.
All right. This last week, we held a tree committee meeting to talk over the downtown tree program. And I put some notes that we got from the tree committee meeting, some of the ideas they were talking about. The first thing I believe we discussed was if we're going to do it, we should do it in the fall. We're kind of late for spring planting, and that we should, if we're going to go ahead with this, we should take the trees out now, or have the trees taken out now, so all that the dead wood that would be left behind can die off, and we can have it not compacted but settled by the time it comes around. And then As far as, we talked about, there's an empty spot over here on 8th Street, and the tree committee was saying that they would like to see that tree match the rest of the trees, so it was what they said, it was a dwarf crab apple, flowering crab apple. And they'd like to see if we could just match it for now, if they're not,
It made sense.
it made sense to match
Because it's a
that one.
half block.
Yeah.
And there's 3 trees already like that to make the last one
Right.
that one.
Right, and if those trees we're gonna leave those trees because they're completely healthy, it kind of made sense. And then we talked about the tree types that we were talking, that had been bid, and they definitely recommended sticking with the Golden Colonnade ginkgo versus one of the alternatives that was being submitted, and then sticking with the Main Street maple as well. And we need to, they felt those at least were the best fit for downtown. And make sure that existing trees are in good health, and so we can fix that with this project if they are not. They wanted to emphasize a soaking method for watering the trees and not just blasting the trees, because they felt that would compact the soil around the trees if they just blasted them. And they questioned the type of trees along 7th Street. I haven't been able to find out that, and they thought it was a ginkgo. And I went down there and looked at them. Well, there's no leaves on them to identify them for me to do a quick internet search, and I tried to get, Dale said he could see if he could look them up on his plans. I found my plans in here, and they didn't specify what trees were in there. But I did notice that I think all the trees down there had a watering system around them, so which made, I think, any type of tree that if we're planted down there would probably survive pretty well.
Did the city plant the trees or some company?
It was I'm sure it was whatever company or subcontractor that put the whole corridor in here. That's what would be my guess. And then they expressed the concerns, this goes with the removal of trees. There's, on the plans, there's the removal of the ash tree by reflections, and that was of concern, because whatever's the root system that's down there, whatever you see above, there's probably double what below, and to cure the problem of the empty space that's going to be left behind with all those roots. That was where not the idea, but the recommendation of taking the trees out as soon as possible, so we can remedy that. They also wanted us to talk to each of the business owners about the types of trees that are going in front of each of the businesses. Just basically communication, so they know what's going on, or can approve or disapprove of what types of trees. They did mention a golden rain tree as an option, because they really liked it. I think one of them had one in their yard. But if I remember right, we had talked, because they were, the golden rain tree, I looked it up, it's a really nice looking tree. And there was, I think one of them commented that maybe the business owners wouldn't like the pods falling off the tree around their properties. I can't remember exactly. I was trying to remember all the conversation we had. But like I said, the golden rain tree looked really nice. And we left the committee meeting with the sort of instruction that, hey, let us know what you think on the watering of the trees, how much we should be after they're planted. I tried to get back in contact with them. I sent them an email trying to remind them, hey, we want your recommendation later. I did that later on in the week, and I've yet to hear back from either one of them on their watering recommendations, but, I mean, that's something we can also talk about here if you, depending on how you want to go forward with that.
Well, I'm thinking, why don't we make sure we get a hold of them in the next 2 weeks and have them, and if we need to contact the two bids and ask them what their intention on the watering is, just so we can get that set aside.
Okay.
And so I still have a problem with some of these trees, but the maples, so the crab apples that we have are supposed to be 12 to 15 feet high and 12 to 15 feet wide, and those are the ones that are on Citizens. Well, those make sense. If you could look down the street, have you paid attention to them?
Yeah.
On 8th Street, right there?
On 8th Street?
On 8th Street, right there. Those 3 out of the 4 trees. So those are, they're created to be 12 to 15, and they look right for a sidewalk, right? So then the maples that we're going to put in, when you look them up, they said they're going to be 20 to 30 feet tall and 80% of that width. So the width would be 16 to 24. And I'm like, okay, so that makes sense because you have a 10-foot sidewalk, half of it's on the sidewalk. I can deal with that. And so then you look at the Colonnade Ginkgo, and it has a potential height of 45 and width of 25. And I'm like, okay, I think 25 is probably okay. The height of 45, but Kim called me back and left me a message, said they grow extremely slow. So if this is an extremely slow tree, then I guess the 45 wouldn't be a concern. So I got okay with the ginkgo, but I still have problems with this lace bark elm, because when I read it, it says 30 to 40 feet tall, but 35 to 45 feet wide. And I know that we're saying because it's in a limited space, it won't grow that wide. But if it's created to be that wide and to kind of crash it down into 20 feet, I don't know, I have a little problem with that. So I'd like to discuss that with the tree board. So I think the things that are outstanding is I just need to make sure that they are okay with that lace bark elm. And then I think what they want to do is to make sure that what we're going to plant in front of each building is communicated to that building owner to make sure they're okay with that type of tree, which I think that makes sense. We're getting 3 different types of trees. And then I think what needs to come to us is just a map and show us where the maple, I know you have it in your head, but where the maples are, the ginkgos are, and if we choose this elm, where the elms are going to be, okay? So we have that. And the last thing is about the crabapple trees. When you walk along there, they talked about it at the meeting. The tree board is very knowledgeable, and they were talking about the suckers that pop up at the bottom, and I don't know if there's a way to resolve that. But they were asking that question. They said that's the only thing bad about that tree is
Chainsaw works.
chainsaw. So anyway, just if there's a way to deal with that. But those were the things that I took away. We still need to show you guys where we're going to plant each kind. We still need to communicate with the owners, the landowners, if they're okay with this type of tree. And just to have one more meeting with the tree board to make sure that that lace bark elm is really, you know what I'm saying? About when it's supposed to be 35 to 45. Like the Colonnade one, only supposed to be 25. That works for in my head, you know?
How long does it take to grow?
I know, but I'm starting to think if you're taking a tree that's supposed to be this, and do we really want to plant a tree that we know we're going to have to pull out? You plant a tree knowing you're going to pull it out in 10 years rather than plant a tree that doesn't go so wide. I don't know.
Will it grow that wide in 10 years? That's my point. If it's a really slow-growing tree.
Well, that's why it sold me on the ginkgo when she told me. The only thing that hasn't got through my head is this elm, but maybe she can.
Did you look the elm up?
I did. And
what does it say?
It says 35 to 45 width.
But how fast?
I know, but I'm just saying proportionally. Think about that. It's only 30 feet tall, and it's supposed to be this wide. So, anyway.
In 10 years is going to reach that?
I don't know, but do you really want to plant a tree that you know you're going to pull out in 10 years because it's too wide for the space you planted in? Or would you rather plant a tree that's only going to go to 25 and allowing it to live its life as planned? I mean, anyway, I'd rather just go to the tree board and let them make that final decision. Are you guys okay with that?
Yep.
So, and ask them, and you can check with the watering methods real quick. That's one thing that the city council can do. And the other ones, we can meet with this tree board, make a decision, and then we can go ahead and communicate to the landowners, and so you guys will know that it's okay with them to proceed. You all right with that? No, you're not?
I still think we don't need to plant the trees. People do not want trees. There's lots and lots of people who do not want trees.
But there's lots and lots of people who do too.
Yeah, because I had a couple calls
Yeah,
at the shop
got
because they
both.
watched this, and they just said, well, the one lady, she's a business owner, and she said she loves it. She said, the concept of the trees, she said, go down to Lawrence, look at the trees in Lawrence, it's lovely.
So
You
what
know,
kind
it
of
just
trees did
adds-
Lawrence plant?
Pardon?
What type of tree
Oh, I
did they
don't know,
plant?
she was just
Will you find
expressing
that
this
out?
to me.
Lawrence trees?
That, you know, I mean, it's lovely, and it does aesthetically, you know, it's nice, and there are people that don't want it. And I had also explained to a couple people that it was up to the business owners, you know, that these go in front of, they had the yay or nay on it. You know, we're just not gonna go in and strong arm them.
But just like this way we'll know they're okay with us putting a
Yes.
maple in front of their street, just confirmation.
I think, the places where it's done successfully, it's done the way we're doing it, which is diligently, slowly,
I
deliberately.
know, we're not in a
make sure-
hurry to do this since
No.
we're not gonna do a spring
Right.
plan. So we might as well make sure
Right.
our landowners are very happy that we're doing this.
Right.
Even if Diane isn't, or,
Well, it's not just me, it's the people the taxpayers. Have you asked them if they would like to have a shrub or something put in? Not just saying we're just gonna leave these spaces open downtown with nothing at all. We're not gonna do any landscaping at all. Have anybody said anything to them about that? No?
But shrubs are even tougher though, because they'd have to be tighter. I mean, part of the beauty of a tree is it's narrow at the bottom where you walk, and then it's above. But whereas a
Well-
bush is kind of, depending on what kind of shrub.
No.
The bush catches trash.
That's,
Well,
well, if they would pick all that trash up on time,
I talked to Blue Rapids Greenhouse, and I talked to Extension Office, and there's a boxwood that's green all year round. It takes very little care. Costs us about $50 a piece to put them in, and they said they would do very well downtown. So,
okay, well, we're gonna get our answers, and then we're gonna vote. Is that a deal? Well, we're not to the point of making a decision yet, but we need more information from the tree board, from the contractor, and then we'll come back at the next meeting.
but I think you could give the people downtown, I think you could give the business owners a choice. You're
Well,
not
that's
even...
true. If you're gonna call every business owner and say, we're gonna put a maple in front, would you prefer a boxwood? Is that what you call it?
A boxwood,
Shrub? Is that what you said?
a boxwood shrub, I forgot what.
It'd be
But it stays green the whole year round. It takes very little
You can ask the
maintenance.
question. You can ask the question. I mean, take a survey while you're out there.
Okay.
But I think we wouldn't want mixed.
Trees
Mixed.
and bushes?
That's kind of what the tree committee was saying. We already got trees. If you're gonna have trees, why not have trees? We already have quite a few downtown.
boxwood, what I believe they're talking about, looking it up, is like what they use for topiaries, that kind of bush. It's kind of like did they show you a picture?
Right there.
Yeah, yeah. It's like what they'd use for topiaries, if you ever see
make
those,
balls?
where they come up and they go like this. It's that type of bush. That's what a boxwood
Yeah, but
is.
it,
No, I'm just, so that
yeah,
way
but it's
they know
not
what it
trimmed,
is.
so it has a
Oh,
stem
no,
and
no,
then a
I'm just
ball
giving
like
them an idea
that.
of what kind of bush it is, so it's not juniper or something, I'm not saying somebody's gonna trim them all into creative shapes.
Oh,
Squirrels!
squirrel.
You're gonna do it. I did it before you could.
But we're gonna have blank spaces anyway, so not every space is gonna have something anyhow, so.
No, I mean, for the spaces where there aren't trees, I think that would be great. I mean, I like the idea of a little bit of both, but, just because I want everything.
So,
If I had my way, that lamppost would be not in front of where I'm gonna be putting the antique shop. I'd have that, and I'd have tree, because then I'm gonna put, to me, that just looks, in front of the antique shop, it's gonna have a tree there, and then I'd have a little bench, and then by flower pots.
Like a calendar photo.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm working on.
Yeah.
You have a little seating area, you're okay.
Well, I'm going to.
By the pony park.
That's-
No, I mean, at the pony park, you have a seating area.
I don't want that, this is mine.
Okay, so we're gonna have another tree board meeting, and we're gonna bring something back at the next meeting.
My document got messed up. Next project we're talking about is the flush tank project. The bidding was conducted by CES. We had 2 bidders for the project. One was DNR Coke Enterprises, and the other one was Inline Construction. The engineer's estimate of this project's, he estimated at $72,000. DNR Coke Enterprises bidded at $74,000, and then Inline Construction bidded at $61,400 for the whole project. So Inline was the lowest bidder, and Tony Deaver went back over the bids and made a recommendation to go with Inline Construction. Inline is the contractors that did our last year's project.
Flush tank replacement?
Yes.
And I
Okay.
take it you're going to steer them in the ones that it will be most important to start on with the CIPP.
Yes, we will get those 2 done first.
I'd entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we do the low bid for the flush tank removal of Inline Construction in the amount of $61,400. Take it that's coming out of water or sewage revenue.
Sewage revenue. Yep.
Sewer revenue fund.
Yeah.
Yep.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye, yes?
No, I think it's fine what they're doing and that the bid's fine, but I was curious about, and I thought, we actually paid $72,000 to get somebody to do the work for $10,000 less? Is that right?
No, he estimated the project. He said.
Oh, this is his estimate.
Yeah, he estimated how much somebody would bid for this.
That makes more sense.
Yep.
When I read that, I thought, well, did we pay them to engineer, and it costs more to engineer than do the labor?
What did we pay, what did we pay him to do the engineering?
A little over $8,000.
And so that would have been included in the 70,000 that we budgeted?
Yes.
So we just come in under the budget number?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Fine. I just wanted to know that.
Yeah, just to clarify, yeah. Okay. All in favor of accepting the low bid from Inline, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0, all right.
Okay, number 5 is, let's see,
It's a staffing request.
it's a staffing
And
request.
can I just jump in before you get started? And I think this is a heavy discussion item, and I think I would like it to go to the Water and Sewer Committee to discuss it, and then have them bring a recommendation back to council. Because I think that they need to evaluate our staffing needs and decide what we should do in this area, rather than all 9 of us discussing it. So that's why we have standing committees. Are you guys okay going to that and discuss at the next meeting? Okay, thanks.
Just as long as we aren't meeting this week, because I don't have time this week.
Oh, you
Next-
just got
next week.
back.
Yeah, I'm just buried this week.
Next week, okay,
We got
we
time.
can do next week.
Put it together, all right.
Yeah. So don't be surprised when there's a water sewer meeting, that's what it's for. And I think that if you could in advance send any questions you might have regarding staffing or how to determine if we need these positions to, you want to send it to Debbie or to Austin? Questions?
To me.
To you? Okay,
Yes.
so any information you might want regarding staffing needs to send to Austin so he can have those questions prepared, answers prepared. Okay,
All right, number 6 is a wage scale increase. This is something I believe, not just I believe, but that should be really done whenever we do what we're calling a cost of living increase, because if our cost of living goes up, our wage scale should follow suit, so we're not stuck back on older wages to draw in when we have new recruits. So what I'm recommending, not pulling everything from 2011 and bringing it up to match the current, all the raises that happened for cost of living. I'm just saying, let's start with increasing the full-time scale by 62 cents, which is what we increased this year. And then the part-time scale by 30 cents, which is what they did. And then if you also want, increase the seasonal by 15 cents. And just go off of that, and then just with the idea that we would maintain this wage scale every time just a cost of living, not a merit raise or anything like that. Every time we do what we call a cost of living raise, that we would adjust the wage scale to go follow.
So we haven't done this in the past. Let me try to figure this out. So we haven't done this in the past because if we give our girls and guys, a raise, then if we bump this up, then the new people would come in at what our other people are. Is that the reason we haven't done it in the past?
I can't surmise on what the reasoning was, but
because when you think so let's say we hired one person last year and we gave them $15.09, and they got a raise this year by 62 cents, and somebody comes in the next time. If we raise that $15.09 by 62 cents, now our new person is at the same rate as our second-year person.
Not necessarily. Because if they're doing their job correctly, they're going to get a merit raise as well.
Yeah, but I don't know. And so that's the reason why we haven't bumped up. I think in the past, I'm just trying to think through this, because you want and this starting minimum wage. They don't have to start at that. The department head can say, I would like to start them at this because of job experience or whatever.
We do have guidelines, for instance, for the following position that's up for wage determination. There's a guideline where it says certified officer starts at this. Now, if they had 20 years of experience, yes, by all means, put them somewhere else in the wage scale, but to go, well, you're certified, you haven't been on the job for so long. This is where
the thing is, you don't want to hurt the people that stay with the city.
No.
Right?
Did they already have a raise? So is that what you were saying? They already had cost of living?
At the beginning of this year, they had the cost of living.
So this has already been implemented into their salary.
Their salary, yes.
You're just putting this into new hires?
Yes.
So if you bump up new hires, I'm just using one year.
But if you've already bumped up somebody who's already working according to this scale, now you're just doing it to people that are
coming in
hired.
Then they would have the same salary as a person who's been there 1 year then. Right? If you bump up the beginning.
But the idea of a cost of living increase is not as a reward, technically, because cost of living is giving a raise indiscriminately. So it's to match our living conditions that we have. So it's, yes, maybe somebody will perceive it as somebody, I've been here for a year, why are they making the same? But I feel it's a necessity. If somebody's going to come live in our town, they should make the living wage that we have determined has increased. And again, if that employee's doing their job correctly and going even above and beyond, they're getting a 20, 30, or 40 cent raise.
You know, when we did the 62 cents, though, it wasn't just cost of living, it was merit and cost of living. And then when you do your annual reviews, it was supposed to be merit only. The 62 cents, remember when we calculated that? Who was on council, Darlene? And Todd?
Yeah, I remember
when
that.
We calculate, that 62 had two components in it.
Yes.
So I don't think you should bump it up for both components. How about, okay, we have an F&A, a Finance and Admin meeting committee. Will you guys want to look at this and make a recommendation to council and come back? Because you're not, it's not going to affect you this week, right?
Well, not necessarily, it was going to affect this approval of the wage and determination.
Well, you can always, if you feel confident that you want to already have that included, just go ahead and increase it now.
Okay.
Fair enough?
Yeah.
Okay, so,
The range 1 through 5, are those all part-time?
Yes. Everything below numbers, yeah, everything 5 and below is part-time.
okay, so yes.
I was just curious, has the city ever considered on these new hires a probation period before you start?
We have a probation
You do
period.
have?
Yes.
I didn't never see it written down somewhere. I couldn't find what I was looking for.
So we have a 6-month probation.
Okay. So what is the probation period?
6 months.
6 months?
Yep.
So are you okay? We'll just go ahead and defer this to the next meeting, and F&A will have a meeting and make a recommendation? Okay.
All right, financials. Let's see. I'll go back to my report. Here we go. Expenditures in the general fund have remained relatively stable compared to last year. A few thousand, I think there was $10,000 difference in expenditures, more this year than last year. But that's soon to change. I talked to our dealer for the street sweeper, and it's coming in. We're almost mid-April now, so I'm thinking later April it should come in. And when that comes in, we'll have a $204,000, well, actually minus $9,000, but $200,000 expenditure to take care of. So that's gonna jump our expenditures up like you hadn't seen in the past. But that's in the budget. Let's see. Water is also relatively stable as you compare previous years. And then sewer fund is still on the rise, actually relatively low expenditures compared to revenues coming in, which is good. Once we finalize the Clink project, we should get reimbursement for sales tax and get back to over $1 million in the sales tax fund. Revenues have also been looking good for sales tax. There was not much movement. Also, there's not much movement on the project costs. I think a $6,000 payment to CES for the flush tank project was the largest expenditure or movement on project costs. I think that's all I had. Any questions on that?
You're talking about this master project list?
Yes.
Is that what you're?
Yep.
So just FYI, I had emailed him about, Austin about the Kester House Museum, and he said he was getting ready to go out to bid, right?
I'm writing the documents up, yeah, so we can go out to bid.
So we can get that done. Every time I drive by the Kester House restaurant, I'm always like, we need to get that done.
Right.
So, that was the only thing that I wanted to make sure he was in the works.
Speaking of the restaurant, still having the works, fixing the wall that was ran into. It's just been a little drag with the contractor that our insurance company not pushed us towards, but recommended. Nothing's been their problem. It's just figuring out which bricks to use to replace or to fix the wall. And so once we get that, they should get us into their schedule. It's just a challenge getting the color down. I've had a couple shipments and I have like 10, 12 bricks just sitting next to my office, and I think I have 7 more sitting in the vehicle. Okay.
Anything else?
Final thing, I put this out, I didn't put too many notes on it, but I've had a request to if we would sell 2 lots that are right here, right next, I kind of stationed the sticky note right south of the 2 lots that I'm talking about, 5 and 6, right next to what would be 8th Street, if it went down through Jackson. We own these lots. They are not FEMA lots. In fact, over on the other side of 8th Street, where you see City of Marysville, those are FEMA lots. But I had a contractor say, see if we could sell these. We went through and checked it out. We do have a drainage, stormwater drainage down through 8th Street. So that didn't affect this property. Right now, we currently mow it as a part of, probably as a part of our FEMA lot mowing while we're out there. And I've talked with staff and they haven't said or seen any need for them, and I was bringing that to the council's attention to see if we did indeed want to sell this, and if we did want to sell it, we'd probably go through the same process as we did before.
So, do you know why we bought those lots to begin with?
I don't know.
Okay. So, you'd probably put a proposal request in the newspaper again and survey it costs,
Yeah,
right?
we'd have to, I think we'd have to survey it because we probably don't have a straight out deed as we own everything to the south of it. So we'd have to have that surveyed like we did before. And then also put the ad in the paper or put it out there after we get it surveyed that we are putting it out for bid, a sealed bid like we did last time.
Yeah, did you have time to look up to see what was on the tax rolls? It doesn't matter. You can put it in the highlights if you find that. I was just curious what the appraised value was. But are you guys okay with going ahead and sell that property, or can you think of any reason why we need it?
No.
Okay,
No.
so we'll go ahead and
I'll
let that property
get it
out.
surveyed.
Yeah, get it surveyed.
Forever.
Yeah, let's see.
I think they're south.
South side.
This is the south side.
This is the south side, so it's like this.
US 77 is where his right hand is.
This is Jim Lundine's house.
Yeah.
All right, so I will get that property surveyed. I don't know what their timeline is on surveying. This is probably more straightforward than the last lot. So hopefully it'll take a shorter amount of time. Maybe I'll have something by next council meeting, so we can get it out to bid.
Okay.
But that's all I had, unless anybody has any questions.
Okay, I'm good. Debbie? The only thing I was going to ask you, do we know anything about that Credit Bureau of Kansas, how we're doing?
We're working with them. They actually have a module or like a spreadsheet that we can download so we can fill in all the information and send stuff over. And Ruth she's added the software to be able to put all of hers in, and it will just send it over to them too, so.
Really? She can use that Jayhawk software?
Yeah.
So it should be really easy for her.
Really easy.
So she just has to identify on there which ones to send? And so will we get a monitoring report on how much goes over there? I think they said that was part of the deal, wasn't it?
That'll be
That they would send a monthly tracking so they know how many they have and what they collected, so. Okay, good.
We're working on it.
So both areas, water, sewer, and so the court, let me try to remember how we do this. The court, we don't have to add anything to it, but we're adding 25% to the water sewer collections.
Right.
And so when we send those, we'll add that on. Okay, where on the municipal court, they add it on.
I'm not sure if we add it or they add it.
Well, I thought we put that ordinance that said we were going to bump it, so I thought we bumped it to them.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's good. You guys have anything for Debbie? Okay, we'll go on to standing committees. Street?
How you coming on the bid specs for the streets for this summer?
Still working on it. Since we were kind of talking about having them all out at the same time, so we could get, so contractors could get a look at all of them at the same time. I think we're on track to do that.
Okay. You got a finish date of early October on them?
We haven't talked about that. I'm going to talk yes, we will. Streets, bids.
I have one thing to bring up, Mayor,
Okay.
about the streets. I talked to all my neighbors. I've also talked to Austin, and he's talked to the head of the street department. He doesn't think it's a good idea, but the people that are on Jayhawk Road and on 8th Street, two people I haven't talked to, the rest of them all would like to maybe utilize some of this acres and acres of this gravel or this pavement that we chewed off of 36 and do Jayhawk and 8th Street with it. It would eliminate the dust, and they all want it because they know they're not going to have to put up with the dust and they're not going to have to put up with the mud. And it would save everybody money to do it. The street department has told Austin that there'd be chunks and there might be a little bit of work to it. But to try to do something else on that street to last for 4 or 5 years is going to cost a lot of money, and to pave it'd be probably over $1 million.
So, these chunks that we have out there, do we have them, I thought they always heated it back up and relayed it down. Am I crazy?
No.
That's what they should have done to begin with and used it when they took it off of 36. It should have went right back down 36 to
And I worked for Hull Brothers for a couple of years, and we used to do projects, they would mill it off. I mean, now they mill it and they lay it back down, but we would mill it off and then we go 25%, we call it recycle.
Right.
And then 75% virgin. And they mix it together and add oil to it.
Yeah.
Millings, I mean, the problem, and how long that's sat there since last fall.
Yeah.
The thing about millings, because I worked loading up the recycle pile, is it sits there, it gets water on it and the heat, and it turns back into chunks. I mean, when they mill it up right away, it's fine, and
So the piles
sometimes
out
it's not that
there,
easy to work with.
you're saying we don't heat it back up, we just spread it and then we roll it down?
aggregate.
Use it like
Yeah.
gravel, yeah. And
They'd have to see how, I guess they'd have to try it and see how
Might have like a
bucketed out
crust.
there. After it sit for a year, I know when we were over at Belleville, we had a guy with a backhoe and was breaking it off, and then I'd have to go with my loader and smash into it and dump it a couple times. And then we had a big screen on top that they caught the chunks, because otherwise they'd go and plug up the belt.
So,
I mean,
so your thinking is to spread it out and use that big rolling machine, is that right? Is that what you're thinking? No? Just spread it out and not do anything?
You
like gravel.
have to just spread it out. We, a couple
I thought it was
times,
a roller.
leftover sold it to farmers, and they put
You
it on
can see an example of it right in the dump.
Or they're gonna run heavy equipment on it.
Yeah.
The dump driveway, they've done a little bit there, and you can see what the
Just recently?
It's
the
on there
dump
now. They've used some to straighten up the dump
Just
driveway.
recently?
Just recently, yeah.
Anybody can go out there and look at it. There's a gentleman who lives north of town, Ronnie Smith, on the Home City Road. He is from the county. He's got the most beautiful driveway you've ever seen. And it didn't cost anything but his hauling and leveling to do it. It's something to look into. And it'd be cheap.
Can you tell by looking at this
You can
stuff?
try it. You won't know till you go to dig it out of there. I mean, it was the moisture and the heat that generally kind of did it over there, because that stuff had been sitting at Belleville for like a year. We were trying to use.
This hasn't been. It's only been there a very short
Yeah,
time.
where it hasn't set over the summer, it might be all right. I mean, it probably
We should
hasn't
use it
cooked
if we're going to.
Go out and experiment with it.
You'd have to see.
I know, so can you do a test? Or is that where you got the stuff for the dump road?
Yeah.
From that pile? Oh, okay.
from those.
Well, then that is our test, right? Is
But
that our
they didn't
test?
really do it. They just filled potholes, but they did level up the dump road with it.
The concern is, Gary said the millings are good for alleys, small spaces, where they can go in and dump it and then pick up the chunks real easily and then smooth it out, where you're not gonna have a whole bunch of water drainage washing it away and it can sit there and allow it to set up when the heat comes. Once you put it on a road, a full-size road, and you go and try to smooth it out and get the chunks out of it. It's labor intensive, as well as that when they go to grade it down, they sometimes it'll come off.
I wouldn't think it would. I mean, if you put enough of it on there and it kind of sits back up and then you go try and grade it, you might end up with chunks all over out there.
Well,
I don't know.
you're trying to put enough down that you're not going to grade it again.
You wouldn't need to grade it once
Well,
it
that's
got
the
packed down.
smooth it out.
Unless you got a lot. I mean, I just throwing it out there.
Have you seen that pile out there?
I haven't.
There's a lot.
It's the majority, because they did recycle some of it, but I think we saved a little money on the
Yeah.
road project by just letting them dump it at our dump.
I just know the few places that we sold it and used it was like farmers were. I mean, it was places where they were going to be running heavy equipment.
Well, see, that's what I'm thinking. Inline construction will pack it down for us.
As long as it wasn't mud, I mean, chunks they didn't care about. But
I mean,
on a road, I don't know.
Yeah,
It could work
Gary
out
has.
good and it could be a mess.
Yeah.
I'd want to talk to somebody that's done it.
Say, on a
It's
road
tried
I
to use it
drove,
on an actual, car road, not somebody's farm access road or something.
on a
Well,
feedlot.
it's a gravel road to begin with, right?
Yeah.
So you're putting it on a gravel road.
We're covering up limestone dust is what we're covering up with this, and it won't blow. And
You know the entrance to Jayhawk Road, well, I shouldn't say entrance, but the Jayhawk Road at 16th, you know the entrance
They
there?
chip sealed about 100 feet.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
It's chip sealed?
Yeah, 100 foot.
So it's not the milling
No.
thing?
No, they chip sealed it.
Well, why don't, does the street committee want to meet and discuss it? And talk to Gary and stuff? Who's on the street committee?
I'm on the street committee.
Who else? You're
I would
on-
say that.
Is it just the two?
Or somebody knows somebody at Hall Brothers, talk to somebody at Hall Brothers and ask if, because they have a little bit of leftover millings from time to time on a job and.
You
They
street
might.
committee want to
They'd
get
have no
together?
reason to steer you wrong.
No.
Okay, so street committee, you guys talk about that with Gary and Hall Brothers and come back and make a recommendation. Austin, of course, Austin and Gary, talk to Hall Brothers. Okay? Is that all right with you, Terry?
Yeah, fine.
Okay.
All right, well, we're still on street. I've had a couple people, and it's kind of a continuing thing for, 7 years now. 12th Road, some people live out in the Keystone Edition, and that continuing concerns about their road conditions and just wanting to make sure that they're not saying now, they're not saying this year, they want a plan. They want to see something on the horizon where we're going to improve that road. And I understand the 12th Road, Keystone Road, 11th Road, it's all the same basket of trouble. But they just wanted me to reiterate that they are continually disappointed in their road.
Well, I think that we're waiting for the Transportation Access Management Plan.
And they've had
Because
some-
they're hoping that will be some funding available.
And they kind
least
of,
for the
they understood
entrance.
the not getting it dust treated. They had hoped for more grading than's actually been happening. And they also think that there's probably not enough aggregate, that it's kind of becoming muddy and mucky because after any rain, everybody's car is just completely covered in muck.
That's
About a quarter mile.
That asphalt would cover up.
So they, I think I
So they're
emailed
not
you
as
about
worried
aggregate.
about the beginning of 12th Road as they're worried about after the pavement.
Well, they're worried about the whole thing, but yeah, it's one of those where do you start and where do you end?
Yeah.
In the short term, they're worried about the road not getting enough grading and gravel. In the long term, they want it to be like 11th Road North to
Yeah.
the St. Greg Cemetery.
Well,
That kind of, it's what they're
To be
ultimate.
honest, those roads are on my hot list too to get done and put them on the calendar and let's
Right.
get them done. The other thing is, when you guys looked at the valuation that was in the paper not too long ago and showed how significant Marysville is to the total Marshall County valuation, and when we have a shared road like that, there should be some cooperation between the two. You said about Washington, but we should be able to, as a combined effort, to do something for those roads.
Right, because there's a
Yeah,
lot
it
of
should-
real estate out there.
It should be probably city, county, and the residents all participating in the cost.
So, we just, I guess my first step was always to see if we got any funding, if we got any potential funding from this, and then we can start having those discussions. But having that in the newspaper and show how significant Marysville contributes to Marshall County funding.
And I understand their position. They figure their valuations are high, they're paying quite a bit of taxes, and they're glad we're fixing the streets where they've had breakup problems out there. I know that's appreciated, but they still feel a little bit like they're on an island and separated from the rest of the infrastructure because of the road.
Well, you know, Todd, they were. There was nothing out there. That was a field.
Oh, I know.
There
Not that
was
long
nothing
ago.
there.
10 years, 12
Yeah,
years ago.
there was nothing there. They went out there and built.
Yeah.
They knew that was a gravel road when they started out there.
Maybe they should
But
be
here's the
contacting
thing
the
about,
commissioners.
here's the thing about developers. They overpromise and underdeliver. I think universally, all developers.
No, but maybe that is the wisest approach, is to have them contact the commissioners. Because that's that shared road on 12th Street is really
On
the
12th
problem.
Road, yeah, because half of it's in the county.
Yeah.
I told them to contact
To call the
them.
commissioners?
What's the commissioner's beef with that? Helping us out with the road? Does anybody know?
They'll tell you it's Marysville Township.
I've told them to contact their commissioners.
No, but
and
on their side, they aren't.
It's Marysville Township, not Marysville.
I know, but I'm still talking about
their township.
That we
Their
pay
board.
county taxes.
I got that. And so we're paying, not us, but they are paying, we all pay county.
We all pay
Right,
county
we all
We all
taxes.
pay county taxes.
Right.
So we are already contributing
Mm-hmm.
to this general fund. What's the problem?
Yeah.
Just what's the problem with that?
And I don't want to get on a soapbox here about that, but it seems like there's a whole lot of love paid to the Winifred Road, to the Oquito Highway, and to a lot of places where fewer people live on those than live right there. It seems like that could be part of one of those type of projects where the county could work with us.
Yeah, we just need to get those, and like I said, I've kind of been waiting for this TA thing to get down to see, and then I feel like our next step is to say, hey, we need to talk.
Right.
So,
I brought this up before and nobody paid any attention, right?
Well, we've been always talking about it. We have not ignored 11th Road, Keystone, and 12th Road. We've been waiting. We got the bids that it's $1 million for 11th Road and $1 million for Keystone. We have those, but there's no way we can assess all that out.
No, I know, but
So
it isn't
now we
like
have to
it
try to
hasn't
figure out how to
been
fund it.
brought up. Yeah, but I brought it up before, and I brought it up at the workshop that we needed to do something about it too, so.
Well, I mean,
No, I know,
Well,
but
and it is a big project because you can't do just one and not the other because then you're not treating them equally. I mean, it's a big horseshoe of
It is,
problem.
and it's a shared street, so we need to make that work. But again, I'm waiting for transportation access
I'll
management.
bet 12th Road will be $1.5 million to $2 million.
And it's, I haven't
You
heard
gotta
anything
clear
in a
to the
long
south
time.
end.
It's Orchlands.
Yeah, but
Anybody
it's
heard
not
anything
all
from
ours.
Orchlands in a long time?
Well, who's going to pay for the other half?
well,
We had the, fella from Orchlands here, a year ago?
Well, that is true. If they decide to build at that corner, there would be economic development money that we could draw
It
from,
changes the dynamics a little bit.
at least on the entrance part of 12th
Right,
Road.
which, yeah.
Would get some money in. So,
The other thing I had for under streets was up in front of the United branch across from Sonic. You notice how bad the road's breaking up there for about 50 feet? It's really alligatoring and kind of almost getting a rut.
now where are you talking?
Across from
On
the-
36?
Yeah, on 36, right in front of United Bank branch. I noticed it right after they finished. There was like a little undulation there, and I thought, it'll heat up and people will drive over it. But if you're on a motorcycle, you really notice it's alligatoring there badly. Like I feel like if we don't get it fixed by next winter, we'll have to patch it in a bigger area.
You're talking about the one we
Yeah, in
just
the
got done?
westbound lane.
Westbound lane.
Westbound lane, north side of the westbound lane. It's,
So what do you think we should do to it?
I don't know, because I haven't actually stopped and walked out in traffic to check it. But I don't know if it was
Well,
something.
we're just talking about making that last payment for Hall Brothers for $25,000.
No,
This would have been the
beyond that.
this would have been the geometric
Geometric
improvement project.
Oh, this isn't.
Yeah.
Oh, you think this, okay, sorry. I'm at the
So,
wrong
yeah, that's a different,
project.
because I thought of that too.
Wrong project, I'm sorry.
No, I don't know if, something that the street crew might need to take a look at if it's off their radar, but I'm afraid it's one of those things, if we don't cut it out, if we need to, and fix it sooner, it'll just spread and,
With all the traffic it
yeah.
gets.
I don't think we should even tackle it
Well,
myself.
and
I
that-
think it
well, and
might
we
be
need to
something
look at
we
it
need to
first.
Contract out if we're gonna do something on
but
that.
figure out what's going on. And like I said, I don't know if you noticed, right when it was finished, there was a little undulation.
It's always been there.
And it was kind of like, maybe it'll smooth out. It wasn't obvious what was happening, but it was like they had a little bit of bad mix there, not enough,
You gonna look at that?
oil in that piece of aggregate.
So Austin will check that out
Okay.
in front of a United Bank. Anything else on street? Water and sewer.
Well, both the water, sewer, and then the wastewater treatment ad hoc, both committees have met. And water sewer, we're working on a policy to notify those affected when there's water's turned off. And, but we're still working, doing some more research, working on
Debbie's
that.
drafting up a policy on that.
Yes.
That we'll probably have for council next time, probably. And with that, we need everybody to have their correct phone numbers at City Hall, so we can do emergency calls. So at City Hall, when people come in and pay their water bill, they're checking phone numbers. And then the next billing, not the second billing from this month, they're going to put it on their phone bills to please make sure City Hall has the correct phone numbers. To
Are
start
you
that.
putting something in the newsletter too about how to go about?
Yes, because our emergency procedures is going in the newsletter.
Okay, good. And then on the wastewater, we're talking about, looking at next year, looking at the rates and possibly adding on a wastewater fee, but we would maybe change.
Stormwater fee.
Stormwater fee.
But what we're thinking about doing, now don't shake your head, Bobby.
Wait for this.
What we're doing.
Get ready to really shake my head?
Yeah.
So what we're doing is trying to reduce the minimum rate so that everybody's billed the same. So the minimum rate would actually decrease probably more than the stormwater fee. We're still looking into it.
Potentially offset, so
Yeah.
there wouldn't be any net increase.
Yeah, so we're making it so that we reduce the stormwater, but reduce the sewer and add a stormwater fee, and your bill will still be the same or go down for the lower usages.
And we're also looking at possibly doing away with the set sewer, maybe doing with a level fee.
A uniform rate. And
level
I think
fee.
Austin came up with about $70,000 on that. That it would generate more if we use a uniform rate across the board without set sewer. So we're having those discussions. We don't have anything to bring to council yet, but
And
we're
it's
still
gonna be
discussing all that.
For 2019.
Yeah, for the 2019 budget, we're going to try to think about it.
So, the storm sewer fee, this is going to encompass somebody like Mr. Landau and the Wassenbergs and all these large buildings?
And residential.
Everybody.
Yeah, what we saw was,
Okay.
what did we just read that said that they had like $2 per residential, and then it's kind of a tiered step.
I sent you that.
Did you send me that? I was trying to remember that.
And it was a set rate for residential, and then depending on, I think they had a 3 tiers
Tiered.
for small, medium, and large businesses.
Yeah. But it's just in the discussion stage. We're going to meet again.
And then that revenue would go into a fund and
for stormwater improvements. And then we thought, the first thing we have to do is get the
Or
GPS
damages.
of the stormwater system and try to figure out what we need and what revenue we need to make that work. That was a big picture, Bobby. Anything else, Darlene?
No.
Okay, so the phone numbers, we talked about that. We talked about hanging lagoons, and our city attorney sent this note, and he really has reservations about hanging those lagoons because he fears losing the tax exempt status of that real estate. And he said we would have to survey, or that's you, Austin, right? You'd have to survey it and separate the lagoons actually from the property that would be hayed. But anyway, he wasn't strongly in favor of doing it. Is that your takeaway from that email?
I wasn't involved in that discussion, but I know other cities do hay it. Are they just kind of below the radar? Or have they already broken?
Well, they
laws?
must break.
It's through the county. Once you start making revenue or something like that, the county will automatically start charging you.
Right now, we're mowing it,
We're not doing anything with it.
so we're just letting it go.
We let it grow. If it gets too tall, maybe we burn it off.
That's it.
Yeah.
And spray the weeds in it.
No, we don't spray any weeds unless there's an outbreak. I would think.
I'm pretty sure some cities allow it to be hayed free of charge. They aren't actually receiving revenue, but it keeps it down, is the idea.
Well, I mean, we haven't had the need to keep it down.
Well, I think it just prevents the need to ever have to deal with potentially burning it or whatever, was the argument. I mean, that's going...
I think we had that discussion, and then we decided, well, wouldn't we have to offer it to everyone if we didn't charge them it? Like how many people would be interested in
Put it in
doing
there,
it?
go for a lottery, you
Yeah.
draw the name.
And
That gets complicated.
yeah, I think that was our fear. I remember having a discussion about that, not charging them anything, and then they said, well, how about or somebody in the past had asked for it to do it, and so now if we let this person do it, what about the person in the past that asked to do it?
Draw straws, put their names in a hat.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Well, do you want to pursue this and get the land surveyed? That would be the first step, or you?
We'd still have to come up with an agreement, because especially absolving the city of all liability.
I guess if it's not a problem, then we shouldn't mess with it, would be my thought, but...
And what would we gain out of it? I mean...
it'd be...
Hey, it would be hayed. It would be cut.
Yeah, but then we're going to be paying taxes on it.
Then we would pay.
Not
if we don't charge.
Not if we don't charge them, because we're not making revenue.
I think they'll see the hay as a revenue for the farmer, because they're feeding their livestock out of it instead of buying it, so...
I don't know. Do you think they'd classify it as that for us?
We're not making money on it.
Yeah,
It
then
wouldn't
it's
matter
their
if the
problem.
farmer's making money on it.
If he has to pay
that's up to
something
him.
on it, that's him. Or her.
How much acreage is there to hay?
I drew a box of 27 acres. There could be a little bit more, but it looked like there were some hills in there, so I'd say at least 27 acres.
That's not including the lagoon.
Not including the, no, nobody would be allowed in the lagoons.
So, how would you guys like to proceed on this?
Leave it alone.
You want to leave it alone? You want to?
How long do we have left without paying it off?
Doesn't.
This is an indefinite discussion because it's just land.
Is it? That's it?
It's just land that we own that we would continue to own.
And how much would it cost to survey it?
I don't know. We've just paid $1,300 for a .35 acre.
Yeah.
So
I
think
hate
about.
to, it's one thing to give it away and have it kept down and go to some kind of use, and it's another thing to cost you money
Incur
to do
costs
that.
And then receive zero
Yes.
revenue so that we don't make it tax exempt.
Yeah.
Oh, right now it's wildlife
Habitat?
habitat.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
I hate fallow ground, but what you gonna do?
I mean, it's there for a purpose, for future, if we need it, but
More cells.
more cells if necessary, or we could maybe if we just do decide to hay it in the future, it'd be after we develop, instead of a cell, we develop an irrigation system, so we can irrigate with the extra water, and that would be the reason,
Make it into cropland.
hay land. It'd be a more viable hay for whoever we contract with. So, and that would be actually worth
little
getting
more
some
than-
money off of it.
Yeah.
So at this point in time, we're just going to leave it as is because of the survey costs? Okay. Okay. And the last thing is, I know you wrote it up in the highlights about the salt shed, but you want to clarify that for all of us?
Okay. I've been in discussion with KDHE, KDHE, and their division of commercial, basically water runoff. And they told me that if we had a salt shed and we didn't basically load salt in that shed, or let me think how to phrase this. If we did anything outside with the salt, outside the shed, we would require a permit to do so. They recommended if we build a new salt shed, that we make it large enough so we could fit the equipment in there and a truck to load the salt into, because it would be contained on top of a cement block and not exposed to the elements.
So you're saying the salt shed would have to be big enough for the truck to come totally inside and unload it?
No, that one's the easy part, because right now they can, if they had the room, they could back up one of their trucks and have a conveyor belt, just shoot it in there.
Which would be okay.
Which would be okay.
The hard
And
part would be loading it, because you have to have room for the truck and a loader to maneuver.
Exactly, to have the whatever loader or skid steer loaded into our trucks would be the more challenging position.
So we just have to make a bigger one.
Yes.
And something about more than...
Yeah.
Huge.
It says, they told me if more than 1 acre of dirt is disturbed, it would require a stormwater permit?
Yes. Yeah.
What's that mean?
We'd have to get with the Department of Water Resources, and just, they have a permit process, and they do it automatically in floodplains, but they have a criteria if we move dirt, for instance. If we had a large enough building that made us move dirt in a 1 acre square or whatever, that we would have to get one of those permits for them to approve that building. Basically, a building permit through them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure I understood what you wrote. Sorry. All right, that's all I have for water and sewer. Parks and Rec?
Yeah, Phil Bruno was up at Lakeview Ballpark last Friday. Had to do a little work on the very end of it where it dumps down behind there. The last good rain we got, it came down through the...
Where it was supposed to go?
Well, it did, and it came down to where, and then it curved and came back onto the red diamond back there.
Parking lot?
No, into the diamond.
Into the diamond. Oh, okay, down there.
Yeah, clear at the very east end of it. So he just kind of scraped a little more dirt out and bermed it a little further so it goes further to the...
Did you bring that to his attention?
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you. So we're going to try it again for the next rain?
We're trying for the
See
next
what
rain here
happens?
again, see what happens, see if it
Okay.
goes where it's supposed to. So.
That's good, that's good. Hey, I saw on the Custer House Museum, I think it was in CNT Minutes, that they're working on an audio tour of the museum, which I love that, so I'm glad they're doing that. Okay, cemetery and airport. I just want to make a comment that someone told me that we have a hangar for rent. So if anybody wants an airport hangar, we have one. That's in pretty decent shape, is what's a rumor I heard.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else have somebody in the airport? Police and fire?
You wanna do this? We did interviews. And,
I think it's in there.
we had 3 applicants, and Diane and I sat in for the interviews, and they all, I think, went very well. The first applicant didn't make the polygraph, so that was taken out, and then another applicant, he stepped away. So
He didn't say why? Did he say why?
Oh, I think there was a few things going on.
Okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't money? I just always have to ask that question.
Not real, yes.
Yeah, mostly
Yeah,
money.
basically money, because I actually had a discussion with him, and he said at his job, when they're working for the pipeline, he's making $36 an hour.
Well, we're never gonna match that.
But that
So-
isn't every day, and I discussed mileage, and I discussed all of the...
Living expenses.
Yeah, and he's on, I gotta give it to him. He's got a plan, and he said the only thing that bothered him about it was having to sign the 3-year contract. And they do have little children, and they're doing a spectacular job where she's a stay-at-home mom. So, him being gone 14 weeks, they could swing it, but it'd be really tough. So, and I think that was basically the crux of it, because what he is planning on doing to continue in his life plan, he doesn't know if it takes off. He would be pulled away and torn, having to required to finish that 3-year contract. So, and then the gentleman that they offered the position to, he has previous experience. He did work for another town, and he worked there for almost 4 years, I think. And he had already gone through the training, and he's on a cusp right now where we need to get him into a 40-hour, it's kind of a recap prep to get him, up to snuff. I did it's been a few days since I did talk to Todd. And
You need some training? We need to get-
retraining.
Like a refresher course?
It's a refresher course.
It's not the 14 weeks?
No. He already did that before. And then it expires after like 5 years or more?
Yeah.
So this be that 40-hour refresher course for him. So there we are.
Okay. Well, thank you for doing that.
You mentioned the 3-year contract. I believe in the past, before that was put in, that we would hire somebody, get them trained, then they would go elsewhere.
Leave for greener pastures as soon as they could.
So we're paying a lot to train them and then
And that's
losing
why
them.
I explained that too. Was a method to that, why we were doing that. And that's very understandable. Why should we dole out all this money and then have them go elsewhere?
Yeah.
So,
Okay, we're not quite at appointments here, or wage determines it. So, admin and finance, but thank you for the report. Admin and finance? Okay, now we can go to the...
Well, I do have, we haven't had a nuisance report, and, we had requested that Dave be allowed to spend 1 day a week on code enforcement, but from his reports, I'm not seeing that that's happening.
I don't think Dave Richardson has enough time to spend 1 day a week doing code enforcement. I'm sorry. You got him going downtown, you're gonna pull speaker wire, you've got him doing electrical stuff here, electrical stuff there.
Well, we just said that we wanted him to make that work.
Right.
I mean,
I know.
if you don't make it a priority, it never happens. That's just the way it is.
And can we hire some of those maintenance type things can we hire that done?
To free him up.
I mean, yes, to free him up.
Would it be, if we hire it out, could we get a person who maybe has like retired from that sort of position in the area? We could have them doing that 3 days a week. Because you're
You
gonna have
talking
to
about
weigh
the nuisance or the
nuisance.
handyman?
The nuisance. Let Dave do what Dave does well and likes to do, and then have another person. And because if you're going to have to bid these out and have somebody else do it, is it gonna be that much more? Is it gonna be less? What's it gonna be?
I think some towns do use like retired law enforcement for like,
Yeah. And I think
for
that
court
that's
code
feasible.
enforcement.
But most of them only work 1 day a week.
Yeah.
I know like Hanover, they work 1 day a week.
Well, Hanover's a lot smaller than us too.
I understand, but I
Yeah.
don't think we have enough in Marysville to keep somebody busy 3 days a week.
Yeah, I mean,
I think if you did it right, and at first I think you would, I think once you got some of the stuff cleaned up, then you could probably back off.
Back 'em up, yeah.
Well, I don't know how many years that we have not kept up, and the town is
Dave doesn't really care
going
about
to pot in places.
Not his
Yeah,
priority.
well, I mean, you're gonna have to
And you
throw
don't
some
have time.
manpower in it, you're gonna have to
No,
throw some
but-
teeth into it,
That's right.
and some money, because some people just aren't gonna clean it up, and then you're gonna have to just
Knock it down.
go in and do it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there's a couple right now that have been going on for, what, about 2 years? I mean, and
Although,
it's-
I saw a fence around a property that.
Really?
Yeah.
But that's a
Okay.
lot of times, I mean, that you give them another 3 months, another 3 months, another 3 months.
Well, that's why we wanted to try to get if you ticket someone, at least you can get their attention more than doing the long, drawn process. Although, how did Craig end that? I sent him that email. Do you remember how it ended? Those conversations?
He was questioning
I told
civil
him that-
versus.
Yeah, so I sent it to him. I don't think he didn't respond after that, did he?
I don't remember if he responded after that or not.
So we're trying to clarify the civil versus criminal.
Yes, we
And-
haven't heard that
Yeah.
back. So Craig is working on that.
Well, I sent him a specific email and tell him trying to clarify what we want.
Okay, and then in conjunction, I'll mention our spring cleanup week is next week. And section 1,
It is next week.
Monday, April 16th, and that is north of Highway 36 and east of 10th Street. Okay, Tuesday, the 17th, north of Highway 36 and west of 10th. Wednesday, the 18th, south of Highway 36 and east of Highway 77. Thursday, April the 19th, south of 36 and west of Highway 77. And then Friday, I guess for call-ins, so those who got missed, the time is between 8 a.m. and 3 p.m.
No, that's, we're trying to keep it a schedule, because if you leave it for call-ins on Friday, then nobody's gonna remember.
Well, that would be if it got missed, or I thought we had talked about that Friday would...
They'll drive around, they'll know if they missed them,
Yeah.
they'll drive that section right away. You can't call on Friday if you were in section 1 on Monday, because they'll never get done, because people will all say we missed them.
Yeah.
That's probably true.
So everybody has to have it out at 8 a.m. the morning of the pickup?
And anyway, it says, please put yard waste on front curb in containers that one person can handle. And I think limbs can be bundled.
Do limbs have to be bundled?
As long as one person can handle it, it's
not a huge
It's not a huge deal, yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Darlene. Okay, let's go back to the policeman on the very last page of our agenda. Do you want to leave it at the 1509 and at the 6-month probation, we can adjust it up based on what we decide on that pay rate? Do you want to go with that matter, go in that direction?
Well, since he knew that was the pay rate, that would be acceptable as long as we,
6 months?
it's, yeah.
At 6 months, do they normally get a hike? I mean,
No, not normally, and I haven't found anything written down. 6 months, supervisor can evaluate how well they've done, and if you have an outstanding, somebody who's gone above and beyond what you expected, the supervisor can bring forward a recommendation on a pay increase, but typically it's, the 6 month is to evaluate if they're fit for the job or not.
okay. So do you want to leave this as it is right now, and we'll discuss that pay raise next time, and then if you keep that tucked away for the 6 month eval?
That's fine.
Okay. With that being said, would anyone like to approve this, hiring this officer? I know Todd would, Chief Ackerman would.
I would like to approve the, do I have to give his name?
The hiring,
Yeah.
For hiring Joseph Mayhew at a range of $15.09 per hour and subject to the 6 month probationary period.
Effective May 6th.
Yes, effective May 6th.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0, all right. We have that done. Our city attorney is not here. We do need an executive session, just 10 minutes, gang. What time is it? 9:20. Yeah, 10 minutes. And this one will just be with the governing body, and then we'll come back 10 minutes. You want to read it, Todd?
No, I'm good. Yeah, I'll read it.
You haven't been here lately.
I move the city council recess into executive session pursuant to the non-elected personnel matters exception KSA 75-4319B1 in order to discuss a performance matter involving a city employee. The open meeting to resume in the city council chamber at
9:30.
At 9:32, after a 1-minute break, the executive session will include the governing body and
Just the governing body.
just the governing bodies at.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, real quick. 10 minutes.
Put that minute in there so I can go to the
I
bathroom.
know. Call this meeting back to order. No binding decisions were made. And continuing on to regular session.
I move the city council recess into executive session pursuant to non-elected personnel matters exception KSA 75-4319B1 in order to discuss a performance matter involving a city employee. The open meeting to resume in the city council chambers at 9:37. The executive session will include the governing body and city administrator.
Yes. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Call the meeting to order. There were no binding decisions made during executive session, and we resumed the regular meeting of the council. I have a couple of things to read. One was, remember Josie Butler? She wrote, as we approach the anniversary of my father's entering his eternal paradise, I, along with my family, would like to thank you for honoring my dad, Frank Jack Butler. In October, my dad was very proud of his family and community. He was also a proud firefighter. Thank you, Frankie Butler and Butler family. And then Kiwanis is celebrating their 80th anniversary. So I have a proclamation to read. It says, whereas April 21, 2018 marks the 80th anniversary of the Marysville Kiwanis Club, and whereas Marysville Kiwanis Club received their charter from Kiwanis International on April 21st, 1938, and whereas Kiwanis is a local organization of community-minded individuals dedicated in supporting children and adults in the Marysville area, and whereas Kiwanis is dedicated to helping the youth in our community through service projects such as Scholastic Honors Banquet for junior high and high school students, Kiwanis Achievement Awards and scholarships to Marysville High School seniors, recognizing bringing up grade students at the elementary schools, hosting Banana Bingo at elderly care facilities, hosting youth baseball tournaments, outstanding citizenship awards, and sponsoring the Marysville Easter Egg Hunt and Marysville Punt Pass and Kick competition. And whereas the Marysville Kiwanis Club financially contributes to the Eliminate Project, co-sponsored by Kiwanis International and UNICEF, to eliminate maternal and neonatal tetanus throughout the world, as well as financially support local community organizations. And whereas the Marysville Kiwanis Club hosts the annual Pancake Day on Election Day, as well as Candy Y Radio Day fundraisers to provide all of these services to our communities. And whereas the city of Marysville benefits from the efforts of a proficient group of caring and involved volunteers. And whereas the city of Marysville would like to recognize and thank the Marysville Kiwanis Club for everything they do for our community. And now, therefore, I, Carla Grun, Mayor of the City of Marysville, do hereby proclaim Saturday, April 21, 2018, as Marysville Kiwanis Club 80th Anniversary Day in the City of Marysville, and urge my fellow citizens to thank the Marysville Kiwanis Club for being an important part of our community. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused to be affixed the seal of the City of Marysville, Kansas, this 9th day of April, 2018. And they are having at Land O'Lane's on the 21st at 3:30, they're having a celebration of the anniversary, and the public is welcome. So it would be nice if some of the people went, because Marysville Kiwanis Club does do a lot for our community. I have another one to read, but I'm going to let you guys go around, and then I'm going to read this to recover a little bit. So, Darlene.
Okay, just remind everybody of the spring cleanup week. And then I believe it's the free landfill days on that Thursday, the 19th, and the Saturday, I believe.
That's correct.
That's correct. And urge anyone, if they have neighbors like me that aren't very strong, if they've got limbs or something, to pull to the curb, because I know one year I called and said, I've got this great big huge limb, but it's on the alley. I've got it to the alley. And they said, oh, no, we don't do alley. You got to get it to the street curb. Well, I finally managed, but anyway, you might check and see if your neighbors need any help.
That, or call your local Boy Scout group and see if that, use some muscles, or Trail Life, right? Trail Life. Anything else?
No.
Bobby?
Not this time.
Gina? No. Terry?
I have one thing I wanted to bring to attention. I had a couple people ask me about the fact that they really would like to see concentration on this new Frisbee or whatever it is.
Disc golf? I was kind of hoping they'd come. I wanted to see one.
Keeping it out of the city park, or maybe keeping it up at the
Lakeview
area, because they really didn't think the park needed the extra things to, I don't know.
I was hoping that they'd come, they bring a disc so I can see how heavy it is.
Get online and did you watch it?
No.
It's pretty extensive. There's a lot of room going to be needed if that. Did you watch it?
No.
Have you seen it? Yeah. There's a lot more to it than.
I've just had people tell me that they would like for it to stay up in the recreation area up there.
Well, a lot of people just use Frisbees, but, you know, people who are really into it have different, they're different sizes.
Yeah, but they're going to have more than one or two. You know, you're talking
It's
like
nine holes.
There's 9 up at Lakeview.
There are 9?
There are 9 up there?
I didn't realize
They're
that.
starting to go all the way around and end up clear back behind.
Yes.
Is he aware of that?
Yes, and there was talk of putting 9 down here and then having 18 holes total, and basically making it a golf course. So that was, they do know that it's up there, yes.
I didn't know 9 holes were up there.
Yeah.
I guess I should go play. Anything else?
Well, I was going to say, if you still wanted to have 9 more holes, maybe they could talk to the trail people. There's picnic tables and everything down there. They could build their course inside where you can go in the trail. There ain't no restroom down there, but could be a place they could put a 9-hole deal there. And it wouldn't be in Bloomer or the trails people's way. So, just want to mention that. That's all I have.
Todd?
Nah.
You've been out of town. I've been out of the country. Diane?
Nope.
Kevin?
No.
Jason?
Nope.
Okay, I'll read my other proclamation then. Here we go. This is regarding RSVP. Here we go. Whereas service to others is a hallmark of the American character and central to how we meet our challenges, and whereas the nation cities are increasingly turning to national service and volunteerism as a cost-effective strategy to meet their needs, and whereas AmeriCorps and Senior Corps participants address the most pressing challenges facing our communities, from educating students to the jobs of the 21st century, to fighting the opioid epidemic, to responding to natural disasters, to supporting veterans and military families. And whereas national service expands economic opportunity by creating more sustainable, resilient communities and providing education, career skills, and leadership abilities for those who serve. And whereas AmeriCorps and Senior Corps participants serve in more than 50,000 locations across the country, bolstering the civic, neighborhood, and faith-based organizations that are so vital to our economic and social well-being. And whereas national service participants increase the impact of the organizations they serve, both through their direct service and by managing millions of additional volunteers. And whereas national service represents a unique public-private partnership that invests in community solutions and leverages non-federal resources to strengthen community impact and increase the return on tax dollars. And whereas national service participants demonstrate commitment, dedication, and patriotism by making an extensive commitment to service, a commitment that remains with them in their future endeavors. Whereas a Corporation for National and Community Service shares a priority with local leaders nationwide to engage citizens, improve lives, and strengthen communities, and is joining the National League of Cities, the National Association of Counties, Cities of Service, and local leaders across the country for National Service Recognition Day on April 3rd, 2018. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Carla Gren, Mayor of Marysville, do hereby proclaim April 3rd, 2018 as National Service Recognition Day and encourage residents to recognize the positive impact of national service in our community, to thank those who serve, and to find ways to give back to their communities. Amen. With that being said, thank you for our AmeriCorps volunteers and all our RSVP volunteers, because they do make a significant impact in our community for a better place. With that being said,
Move to adjourn.
what?
One more thing.
One
Motion's
more
on the table.
thing? She said one more thing.
Motion's on the table.
RSVP, it just reminded me that the city's being honored at this year's RSVP banquet, so it's going to be on April 26th, and it's like
Thursday night.
team night, so you wear your T-shirts, jerseys, whatever you have.
They're
And
honoring
let
us
me know if
for
you wanna go.
utilizing their volunteers. Is that not awesome? I think part of it is because Debbie and staff make them treats when they come, and everybody wants to serve the city, so. But it's
so-
very nice that they're
Yeah,
recognizing
if
it.
anyone is going to go, she just wanted to know how many, so.
So contact
sorry.
Debbie. With that being said, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. I'm surprised Terry wasn't out the door there. I was like, I don't think I could read another of these back to back.
No, I'm always
Sorry
paying
about that.
attention. I get more people asking about that than any other
Don't ask
single
me
thing.
about it, 'cause I haven't sent a copy of them out.